She was the date there.
We've already decided all the controversial issues, so it's just easy stuff now.
She's been the halls here. Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our November 17th, 2025, 9 o'clock strategic planning meeting. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. And we're running a little late. Apologize for that. So let's go ahead and get started. And Chris.
Yeah, I'll try to expedite this. So reason I'm here today, I'm just here to request the BOCC approve amendment number 2 to our current CVSO agreement with the State Department of Veteran Affairs. This is a no-cost agreement. This agreement allows our CVSOs, County Veteran Service Officers, their accreditation. The state provides training. Most importantly, the state provides our quality control and assurance program for that. In return, our CVSOs file fully developed plans with the aims of easing the adjudication process through the VA and hopefully making it more favorable for the veteran. This period of performance on this new amendment is through June 30, 2027. That's
Sounds pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Doing all the good work that you're doing.
Thank you.
So appreciate it.
I'll let you know if I connect, Chris.
Yeah.
John. It's here.
I might get a link. Yeah.
You'll just need to forward it to Ron.
Ron, can Marcy get a link to be able to present via Zoom? Send it to me. Send it to me.
This. Yes, he can send it to her.
Desmond.
3 weeks till.
No, it's gonna be settled today.
No, but I need
It's gonna make it pretty. Today's the day.
Just me also. Should you get it, Ron?
So wait, who's doing that? Do you want to start with the discussion or?
Well, we're going to have a quick discussion. John has put together a one-pager here as a proposed top priority list for the federal level this year. We'll be back another week with state.
That has become 3 pages. But that is only because this is really for us just internally to be thinking about our priorities.
You want a hard copy, we'll look at it on the screen.
We're gonna.
My hope is to save paper, 100%. But perhaps I should print
Can
it
you forward it, Ron, just to the commissioners so they have it on the screens?
23-page copies.
No, we're good. Ron's
You're
gonna
good.
go forward it to the commissioners.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he doesn't have it yet.
Having just read it, I'm like,
I'm just saying, he doesn't have it yet. So.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we,
Go ahead. We're gonna make.
while that goes through, so,
We're gonna make copies quick because he doesn't have it
you
yet.
sure?
Sorry. We've been having technological issues, every now and then, so.
Well-oiled machine. Right.
Backup plan.
Well, what's great is I wanted to open up Commissioner Walter, email you sent some of the federal issues and I can't pull it up right now. So again, it says server not downloading. So if you have that email you sent.
Oh, I just, yeah, on Friday I had Mary forward out the federal issues that
Ron-
WASAC is
Yeah,
working
Ron
on.
has that, so he can pull that up.
So it was a different one, the one you sent prior to WASAC. It was a little more granular.
So not what we sent out Friday. About,
I think it's federal agenda
Maybe
development,
this
because the subject line.
oh, okay.
It would be from Jamie.
Oh, Jamie got in, or from, the, cell phone.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, we just stayed, well, I give state of play in DC,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
right.
Government's open. You all watch the news. Some Senate Democrats agreed with Senate Republicans to reopen the government. Part of the stipulation was to hold a vote on AC subsidies, and extension or some version of continuing those subsidies. It is unclear what that approach, thank you so much, what that approach will be. There are some that just want a full, clean, one-year extension. The president has talked about, and some Republicans are agreeing to just do straight subsidy to constituent payments. Of course, the state has no idea how it would implement those, so that could be problematic. But the conversation is out there. There, I think, is a lot of concern that the income caps for those subsidies are too high. So they're looking at how we reduce those. In terms of what that number is, it's unclear. But I will say that there is not a vote that's going to happen tomorrow on what those ACA subsidies look like. In the meantime, the reason why this extension is also very helpful to the county is they are starting to negotiate the next tranche of appropriations bills. One being LHHS, which the Crisis Stabilization Center is in. The first tranche that was passed out does have the agriculture bill, which is why SNAP has a better path forward. However, there are some other challenges in terms of signing back up that the administration has talked about. So you have to continue to sign up for benefits. That is not a definitive approach at this point in time. However, the funding, although mandated through the Farm Bill, dollars will now be able to flow because of the Agricultural Appropriations Bill. Also legislative branch, which is paying people like Jeff and I about 5 years ago. And then also Milcon, which is military construction, and then VA. So those are the three bills. This next tranche, like I said, will be LHHS. We've talked about defense. They've talked about interior. And then, of course, the FUD bill, all transportation and housing. So we'll see. Appropriators have indicated it's going to take 4 to 6 weeks to be able to get these bills all done. So we can all happily anticipate a kind of down to the wire moment again, because the CR is going to run out at the end of January. So doing the math, doing available floor time could be a challenge, but appropriators are doing their jobs. I will say on LHHS, we do have a funding gap between the House and the Senate version. And it is in the billions. So we shall see how that all plays out. There you go. Any questions about general state?
Do it all again in January.
It's very possible the end of January, we could be here again.
I heard over the weekend, they said the Senate has like 20 working days on the calendar and the House has 17.
Right.
So a lot
Yeah.
of stuff to get done and
Yeah,
relatively short amount of time.
you know. So exactly, I think we can anticipate the shot clock getting down to 1 or 2 seconds. Perhaps a short-term extended CR. I can tell you that the appetite in the House for a short-term CR is nil to none. I think the next iteration of conversations will be, hey, we did get it done. Let's kick it to the end of the year, which is worst case scenario for the county. That's what happened last year, which is why we lost our appropriations request. It could be, let's kick it for 2 more months into March, which is I think what they did for FY 24. So there hopefully is a path. We'll see. I think I've sufficiently filibustered long enough though for everyone to get their documents. Just so you know, it was made with color. Pat will probably see this and say, question my design skills. So it probably will look better once he gets a hold of it. First, a couple sections, worked with Justin on some of the priorities. Some of the things we're hearing, especially when it comes to appropriations negotiations. Had a chance to hear from the commissioners. Justin, do you want to go through some of these? Do you want me to go through and then you explain them? Why don't we just do this?
Okay, yeah.
So,
I guess we'll just go down the list then.
Yeah.
And then we'll hit each one, if there's any questions, as always. Preserving the Sampson block grants and separate programs. So this currently has our mental block grant and substance use block grant, or now the SADAP, or substance abuse prevention and something else program. So both of those are separate. We receive from fund streams passed through from the state. The federal government is looking at combining them, which would result in an overall reduction and limitations on how they can utilize for those individual programs. Keeping them separate is what we recommend. And it better supports the individual work being done on the substance use and mental health items. Right now, we expend almost all of our mental health block grant dollars out directly to programs, and we actually supplement it with some GSF to ensure that there is continuity of care. One of the few regions that do outpatient services within resources other than King County. So that part's very beneficial. We see any reduction in that. It reduces our overall available GSF. So that's another reason why we're pushing hard to keep those separate, maintain the existing allocations without foreseeing, what the next step is for the economic environment. We've already received a reduction in our overall substance abuse block grant, the SCBG, and that did not hit us significantly. Thankfully, we were able to offset it again, but as we look towards the expansion of crisis relief, this is imperative to ensure that sobering services remain stable. The second one there, preserve 988 suicide crisis lifeline funding. We currently have a unique system in our region where we have it vertically integrated with our regional crisis line. However, it's disproportionately funded through the state's regional crisis line, GSF and Medicaid funding. So more funding comes from us to support that line than comes from 988. Any additional reduction could experience an impact to our region for the 988, and we would end up shouldering even more costs. So we recommend making no changes to the existing funding that's available. There are certain aspects of that 988 that were expanded for other components. We're saying for the core 988 services, maintain and preserve. For the Justice Mental Health Collaboration Program.
Just in a second. So on the 988, I mean, that was a state requirement or a federal requirement?
It started out as a federal bill that was passed that provided some funding to the states. Then Washington State then passed, as part of that bill, the tax for the telecom that supports supposedly the state's funding was going to incorporate most of the necessary overall operational funding. However, they've been a little bit way late implementing some of the structural pieces. So their funding has remained limited, and they have yet to even choose some of the hubs officially. Ours is a hub, but they haven't actually designated. They're doing that in 2026. At the same time, we are trying to transition calls to 988, which is the plan. Well, then the state got a little bit confused with the process because they realized they shut one line down and started another one. They didn't have a way for immediately allowing for those calls to be funded. There has to be some period of cost adjustment. Then we heard when they were looking at selection, they actually wanted more hubs, but with the current funding, it may limit the number of hubs to 3 or to 2 statewide. We are kind of ahead of the game in our region. Ours is, like I said, vertically integrated. We fully work in partnership with proportional funding, which the other regions don't. So we are set up for success that's unique in our region, so long as that core funding remains with 988. So that's the aspect. The federal government still pays a grant funding through Vibrant to the 988, which also offsets some of the costs the state has. If any of that's cut, we would end up having to shift back to more funding on the RCL side.
Can I ask what the federal dollars, when you say that it funds this project, does it fund the infrastructure, like the actual line itself, like the actual phone? I'm thinking in my mind like a 911 call. So is it funding sort of the infrastructure, the ability to field those calls, or is it funding the people, the actual labor, the folks that are answering the phone calls?
That's two parts. So on the federal level, they support the infrastructure across the nation that connects those hubs together. So anyone in the United States calls, they're routed immediately to Washington State and then to the local hub based on their phone number. So if it's a 509, it goes to our region. So the federal government supports that infrastructure that connects. The money they give to the state supports the operational and some of the structural portion, the actual agency's software systems that support that. But state is actually supposed to cover the majority of the actual infrastructure for Washington State to maintain those hubs. That's where there's been some challenges.
Okay.
And in the current economic environment, feedback we got from DOH is they're still working out what that will look like in 2026. In fact, we had a lot of meetings with them from our region to help them on how the funding would look, because we're the only region implementing a proportional based integrated system, which is great, but it also, shifts based on decisions that are made. So that's what we're recommending, is at least maintain the core infrastructure.
Thank you.
For the Justice Mental Health Collaboration Program, this allows for partnerships for justice involved mental health individuals. These are grants that are pushed out by the federal government. Although it does not come to community services directly, there are programs here locally that could benefit, including the Sheriff's Department. We would recommend that they continue to provide for that grant. That could allow for further expansion or support on the BHA unit. So, so that's something we do recommend that government maintains. Support of FQHCs, these are federally qualified healthcare centers. They provide wraparound services for both medical and behavioral health. This is going to be your native project entity. We recommend that they support and continue funding for that on the federal level, which allows for a better reimbursement and sustainability over a long period of time. And it is established in Washington State. So continue to support that. Is that Chaz? Yes, and Chaz. My apologies. And Chaz as well. And then to preserve the SAMHSA block grants, this follows that, keeping them separate. So that last one there on the behavioral side is the section where I said keep them within the SABG and the block grant portional disbursements. So maintain the existing funding allocations. It's the top one. This one is to maintain the separation of those two.
And these are things that'll all be fleshed out during negotiations of LHHS appropriations bill. So there's a good chance that in February, we would amend this to just say, support these programs.
Jumping into public health here, the VFC program, Vaccines for Children, this provides the no-cost vaccines to individuals who cannot afford it in our community. That is currently available as a joint program with direct providers, hospitals, as well as the regional health district. Maintaining this just ensures that the existing availability of access remains the same, which has been in place for over a decade there. We would recommend continuing that and in its current sense. Maintain public health infrastructure and emergency preparedness funds. This allows for notification with entities like SRHD to keep the public aware, ensure information is shared to the community if and when those issues arise. So if there is a health outbreak or there is need to prepare in advance, that provides for preparedness. And as we've seen, the natural disasters impact area also impact other aspects of health and ability to respond. So if someone loses their home and they are a diabetic, they providing information how they can access that when they have lost their medical home is something that's important that this would provide expanded access. So continue to support that. And then also naloxone distribution. This is one of the benefits we've had with our opiate dollars to be able to direct towards other areas because expanded naloxone availability from the state and federal government allow us to shift our funds to areas where are gaps. Continuing this continues to allow for the grants for agencies and community providers to receive naloxone for free and have another avenue of prevention. Any reduction in that could negatively impact the work that we've already achieved to this point to offset some of the overdoses we're seeing in the community. And I know it's hard to see with the numbers, but anything worse than that could increase those. So supporting that funding is beneficial to maintain the current work that's being made against opioid overdoses.
So the Improving Seniors Timely Access to Care Act just streamlines prior authorization for Medicare Advantage behavioral health. And then talking about just general federal Medicaid funding stability, obviously with HR 1, the environment is going to change quite a bit after implementation. So when it comes to additional work requirements, when it comes to signing back up for Medicaid, that is something that communities are going to have to figure out, especially for those that are really medically fragile, but do not, if there's some verbiage taken out of that characterization of medically fragile, because HHS is going to redetermine what that means. So there could be some perhaps, that are struggling with substance abuse or something where they're not necessarily going to be motivated or know how to navigate the system, in which case they would lose care, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think it's important to note on here, that the vast majority of individuals that are in the community that would meet qualifications, it's not going to drastically change their eligibility. But there's a group of individuals that are on that cusp, they're income limited, that are able to meet the needs, and they're also receiving this care. If that changes and they're no longer having access to Medicaid, we may have individuals that are currently living independently and are able to function in the community, no longer have access, which could further compound the issue of homelessness and medical debt challenges to citizens that otherwise would have had the avenue of maintaining independence. So that's that group of individuals that could be impacted. That cause that would overwhelm our ability to even maintain the existing individuals if they don't receive that.
So, any questions on the healthcare side? I know we've kind of upped our game since last year, a little more sensitive document.
The only other thing that I got from reaching out to the state public health officials director was that potentially the maternal child health block grant might be. And I need to get more information about what that funds. I don't know if that funds the home visiting services through the health district, but I can follow up on that.
I'm not familiar with that program.
Anyway, I can follow up with her and find out how much money actually comes to Spokane County from that program.
All right. Okay, so moving on, supporting the Thorpe Road reconstruction project. Yeah, just I see why he's here, obviously. Better context.
Yeah, I guess before Justin leaves though.
Wait, Dustin.
Yeah, don't leave yet. Okay.
You thought you'd come away.
As you know, it's a pretty long list.
Yes.
And when we go back, we need to prioritize kind of what you would say the top priorities are. They're all top priorities,
Yeah.
but when you only have 5 minutes or 10 minutes that you're in with someone, what do we want to highlight as those?
Well, and so a couple of things.
So I guess I should say, are they in the order of importance or?
My way, just really quick. So this will be amended after appropriations. We'll have something definitely dialed down. We'll just say support these programs. Boom, 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 boom.
Okay.
And then also we'll have this, generally speaking, less commissioners feel differently as we're back in DC. That's really just our internal document. So it's basically you saying, hey, John, watch these things. If you see any changes, you know, these are the things that you want me to be tracking. Then prioritization.
Yeah,
We should.
so a big look when we got a look at this is what is practical and achievable, right? As we're looking towards this environment, what is reasonable to expect to receive? And the two that I think are really imperative there is that maintaining the SAMHSA funding for mental block grant and SAVG. That's key because that has the greatest impact for our ability to have operational services that are directly affecting our community. So that's one. The second one is maintaining Medicaid funding at its existing levels that they've already passed. The challenge with that is any reduction overall, which they've already done, immediately means those individuals that flow to the non-Medicaid side, which then reduces our overall capacity to take care of the gap area that exists in the system. And one thing we found in the state is they have a challenge with finding funding for the gap already. So if that overwhelms our ability to be able to provide the need that already exists, then you're going to start to see reductions in areas where we can't provide. And we're unique in our region where we can right now. Any additional funding cuts would mean we're unable to meet that demand. And I can't tell you what that looks like yet, but I can tell you that we do anticipate already with the current restrictions that are in place, we do see a shift going to non-Medicaid that could, in the next 2 years, hit 10%. We have not seen currently. So I'm already adjusting for what that cost will look like, including for the long-term operational costs of the expanded crisis relief and sober center.
Mental health block grant. We don't have this on there because we have it in the first version. Just because it falls within.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
kept
other
it out.
thing.
Yeah, catch all. I'm getting into the granular aspects of both of those.
So Commissioner Waldron, that's the, because remember, we looked at that first version and it did have it, that's why, because we can solve
Which for, with the,
the mental health block grant.
oh,
included.
it's included in that, okay. There's so many different block grants.
Which is why we included it in there.
Okay,
To consult, I mean, you should see the first one.
Yeah.
It was,
okay, so that first bullet you think is critical for like the crisis stabilization center expansion and other projects that we have here at the county.
Yeah, there's about 20 different projects that are directly affected. Which includes our STAT program with STARS as well as Crisis
Oh,
Relief Service Center. All are funded out of SAVG and mental block grant dollars.
and so, yeah, and then also just circling back, so this will just be our tracking document. And then we're in DC, when we're in DC, it'll just be segueing to support of the Thorpe Road project that Commissioner, you've been very, very active in, both commissioners. We're gonna make a $2 million request to Representative Baumgartner. I think we discussed this, the board approved as commissioner.
3 million. I've already talked to Representative Baumgartner. And it's 3 million, not 2 million.
I think we had discussed 3 million too. That's my fault. Okay, service transportation. Reauthorization, familiar with, you know, all the different programs, infra build, all those things the county will be utilizing. It is up again this year. So conversations will be happening within the next, hopefully 6 months. I mean, they are right now, but hopefully we'll see something around summertime. Or, I mean, that's a complete guess. That's just doing the math on, we're gonna figure out appropriations and get kind of the next pieces, the agenda, so. And then lastly, this is interesting. If you look at the appendix, the administration has talked about shifting transit dollars. And this is from the highway fund. And I think their argument is highway construction is really what this account was supposed to be. So some states have flexibility to utilize money for transit. And the administration wants to curb this. So I don't know. I just took a guess on whether we support or don't support. That's a bigger conversation that probably cannot be determined at this moment because we want infrastructure, but we love transit at the same time. So something to think about. Or we could punt and just not weigh in.
does it affect STA, I assume, if it goes through?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the STA board members for.
Yeah, that's why I'm,
Well-
sorry, I mean to stare at you, but
It affects STA, but it also affects North South Core. And so you've got two competing projects and dwindling funds and at FIMSIB, we had dinner with Representative Fye, who chairs the transportation and he was also at our meeting on Friday morning. And he was not the bastion of good things coming down the pike. He was very frank about it's going to be a challenging legislative session and the conversations about what projects will get delayed. He's hoping that no projects will be defunded, but clearly some are going to have to be delayed because the revenue is just not coming in at the pace they thought it was going to come in at. So I think this will be an interesting conversation because you look at what Sound Transit is doing. Now they're substantially over budget, but they're taking money out of the state budget and taking it away from highways. And so I think this is a counter to, wait a minute, this money is for highways. Go after your transit money separately. So it's going to be an interesting dialogue. I'm not sure where it's going to end up at, precipitously.
should we change our position to monitor?
I think monitor is probably a safer place to be because you don't want to be on the wrong side of the dialogue until you got a clear picture of which way it's going to go.
Yeah,
I don't want to be roadkill here.
you don't want to be hit by a bus either.
Don't want to be hit by a bus either, and I don't want to be thrown under the bus. So just saying, just
There are some references.
you need to- I'd say monitor is about the far as we'd want to go for now.
Okay. Great. On PFAS cleanup, I think Commissioner Kearns, you had suggested, hey, let's just do general, we support PFAS cleanup, and then Commissioner French, you led the letter on PFAS cleanup. But I just dropped in kind of a summation of this is what we support. You'll also see Patty Murray just sent out a release this morning.
Yeah, I saw it.
So, I mean, I think it's pretty clear our position, don't wait. That is something when we're in DC that I think we really should communicate. Also with Air Force.
Yeah.
I think that's more of an agency meeting that really should take place.
Can I ask John on to that point? I mean, of course, since we're from Spokane, we've been very hyper focused on the PFAS situation on the West Plains. I know I've heard there's other communities that are impacted, but I mean, to what scale? Like, I mean, how many sites are like, I know ours is unique because of our aquifer, the airport in relation to the Air Force Base and all that, but how many other large areas are there that are impacted?
It's substantial. And
Okay.
we are not the only community that DOD has said we will be delaying.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
I mean, I know it's not a very articulate answer, but there's a lot.
okay, but we're not going in talking about this issue and having members from the Midwest or the East Coast being like, what's PFAS?
Right,
Like, so, I mean,
You know,
it's understood nationwide, it's impacting
Yes.
folks like it is here or similarly
Yes.
to the way it is here.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
it's huge.
Okay,
So
That's
the pullback for the military on Fairchild also hit Portland. Because Portland has the Air National Guard at their international airport and stuff, and so they are pretty much kind of in the same situation we are. And with regard to the progress that DOD was making, Senator Murray did send off a letter and say, stay on course. Whether that'll fall on deaf ears or not, I don't know, because there are other installations that are not as far along as Fairchild is. But Fairchild is got the finish line, but then it's a target, so why stop when you're this close? So it'll be, there's just not enough dollars. But great question.
Okay. Commissioner, we had also talked about the FY 25 EDA disaster supplemental grant program. I know you've been tracking that down, working on it. I think once it takes shape, we should just put in bullet points of what that will do.
So with regard to the environment, the one thing that we are pushing is for FAA to come in and provide greater clarity around using airport revenue to mitigate PFAS impacts. They've not been clear, and whether that's deliberate or not. But until there's clarity, I don't think, SIA is willing to put at risk tens of millions of dollars in grant money for, spending money for PFAS. So there's a tension point, and we need clarity. I know that I talked to both the senators and representative about it, and so my guess is they'll be measured in terms of moving into it, but that's something we really need clarity on.
Thanks. Do we need clarity in terms of monitor, wait for the administration, or is that something we should proactively start talking about?
Proactively start going after.
Okay. We're starting to put together our DC agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that disaster supplemental grant, I mean, have you reached out to the sheriff or Chandra for those bullets or?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet, but so the criteria for the grant is that it has to be the request has got to be aligned with the Gray and the Oregon fires in terms of spurring economic development to assist in recovery. And so that criteria kind of limits down what you can actually apply for.
Okay, so we'll put bullets as there's.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. There are lots of housing bills. If you want to take just a second to look at the Home Reform Act, Jeff, love to get your opinion. I just dropped, there's some bipartisan support. So I dropped in support, but it's really yes or no, monitor. But I think it would be good for the county to start thinking about what pieces of housing legislation we want to push.
I've got two comments. One, expand infill is a technique. It's not a goal. The goal is to increase affordable housing options. And so, that's really the city of Spokane's agenda, not, I don't believe it's ours. And the other thing, equitable, I wonder if we should start saying that we support the administration's move to a 50-year mortgage as opposed to a 30-year.
Okay.
That reduces the cost and will increase eligibility. And it aligns with where evidently the conversation in DC is starting to go.
So I will take out language on expand infill. Is that right, Commissioner? Take that language out.
That's my request, yeah.
Okay.
Because it's a technique, it's not a goal.
well, what I didn't understand about expand the infill, I mean, are there any federal regulations that prohibit infill? I mean, just so much of housing is very state and local driven. I always find it interesting where people at the federal level are talking about, well, housing policy at the federal, it's like the Fed's involvement is money when they want to subsidize the construction, but the actual land use, the the development regulations are all state and local, like that, there's very, very few that are federal, if any. I mean, unless it's related to kind of, you know, protected areas or, you know, like, you know, environmental stuff like that. So, I mean, I'll be honest, I just pulled up the Home Act. I'm not really familiar with this one. With this one in detail, but I mean, I don't know if this is language that you pulled out of their briefing, but I mean, or if this is something you.
This is more just surmised.
Okay.
So, and that's
Okay.
why I put just the general bullets. I think, you know, obviously it's uphill, it's constituents, it's members speaking their communities. Hey, this is something, you know, we've got to do. Likely more in urban settings, in some of those spaces, which is why you'll get some of the expanded and bill language similar to, you know, what the city would prioritize. So, maybe Jeff, do you have any, putting on your HUD hat?
I'm just hearing there's a lot of talk to block. I don't know if that's gonna come to fruition or not. Pros and cons of the situation, but having less federal dictating, more formulaic block grants to the states. I don't know if they went that way. I don't know if the money would stop at the state, or if they would use similar to a CDBG formula and it would go down to your entitlement community directly. You'd see either making sense, have formulas in place for both. But that's what I'm hearing the conversation is from keep in touch with people in HUD.
I mean, aren't the home dollars that we receive smaller than like the CDBG allocation?
It's not a huge.
So I mean, it might be better to call out some of the larger dollar amounts, right, of funding block grant programs. So you're talking about they're trying to, there is a desire by some to reform the programs and not give them out the way that we've received it in the past.
They'd either go to the state or entitlement communities. And then those communities would establish, probably within some parameters, establish the priorities for the funds there.
So I will unpack. Cause I do remember seeing some things on. More than half of the community, the continuum of care money is redirected from permanent housing assistance to transitional housing. I think that's one of the things I read. Anyway, there's some other things. Why don't I just send around just a general, like what the administration is looking at? Not necessarily just legislation that's out there, so maybe we start from there. Okay. And then.
I mean, I think the home dollars are important. It's just, I don't think it's a very small amount that we receive compared to other dollars.
Yeah, I think I remember last year getting a document that said something similar. Is there any thought, yea or nay, on the 50-year mortgage? That's something that I just don't know enough about. Okay, all right, so on housing, why don't I put some stuff together? We can read this. We're not gonna solve, of course, housing problems, but. And then the other item lastly was, I'm gonna put together, I said I'm gonna do this last time, a grants list. So we pulled, no, I don't think I'm fine.
You skipped over the appendix.
Although those are the two things we talked about. Home Reform Act and transportation funding shift. Those are just bullet
It's
points.
interesting because I've got other stuff on here that I wanted to comment on.
My apologies.
Don't mind.
My
How
apologies.
about it, Al? Let him have it out.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So, the second bullet point, defines infill housing projects. Encouraging development of existing communities to reduce sprawl. we don't have sprawl, so why are we talking about reducing it? When we don't have it. And so that seems to be more of a political statement, but not really specific to Spokane. So why would be defines infill housing projects, that's but the reducing sprawl. I don't even know that you could get one unified definition of what sprawl is, much less have it.
Well, and this is just general summation of the actual act, so no statements. This is not even meant to be included. This is just kind of spirit of the actual document. So nothing that we're taking an opinion on one way or another. This was just more to help, hey, if we like this or if we don't like this, these are some of the benefits.
This is actually.
Yeah.
Piece of
What
legislation.
the bill does. Yeah, exactly. It's just that because, like I said, it's a new bill, so. Yeah. But you know, that kind of language could then immediately cause red flags, like, well, we're not gonna like this bill, if that's the spirit.
Yep.
So, I think that can inform that very quickly.
And the fourth bullet point, I think. Well, unless there's support for this, adding the 50-year mortgage. The administration is clearly socializing that. I think they have the ability to influence that, and that improves housing affordability. I mean, you end up with debt because you got to stretch out the loan, but at least you lower the mortgage payment to where you can afford the mortgage. So I don't know whether we want to start getting aligned with some of the other programs they're talking about in DC or not. And then on transportation funding shift, proposing to eliminate the federal account within the highway trust fund that provides billions each year for mass transit. That's part of that conversation that's starting to happen in DC about and it's not just Sound Transit. I didn't mean to say that's the only project. I mean, up and down the East Coast, they got light rail projects and mass transit projects that are way over budget. And they're having to divert funds to solve the hole. Well, what happens is then the roads deteriorate. Or bridges get fallen down, or overpasses get run into by backhoes. I don't know whether we want to actually say that or we want to monitor it. But just throwing that out, if you're going to be opposed to what the conversation is in DC, don't expect a positive outcome.
Correct. So, yeah, and again, this is just more of the general summation.
You know,
If we're signing yes or no, just help inform the conversation. I want to say, as it sits now, there's a $100 billion shortfall in the highway trust fund if we continue funding the way it is
Yep.
starting next year. I don't remember if it was 100 billion per year. Sorry, I read it and I forget it, but there's a huge shortfall is the point. So that's exactly the administration's way to shift and figure that out. And I don't know if there's a conversation about shifting more transit funding priorities to states, to local. I don't know how that would play out. But I do, there's gonna be a big deficit that they're gonna have to figure out when they redo the transportation option. So I think that's the reason.
well, you look at what California is doing with regard to their light rail project. They're pulling money out of their transportation budget to feed the light rail, and it's already gotten a bunch of backlash. So I don't know. Just a thought.
So we'll keep them to monitor, so we're not pitting STA against north south. And it's just something that I'll make sure to track. I know we all will, but.
Yeah, Representative Phi did not indicate, and you know, he did touch on the north-south corridor a couple times, but. You know, the concern is projects will get delayed that, you know, the state has been invested in, specifically north-south. But there's also projects on the other side of the state, significant investments. Timelines that have been established that might not be realistic anymore. So.
Right, and then I have a grants file. So we had talked about availability of state and federal grants. I think what we tried last year was to create some connectivity with different departments. Instead, that didn't work out. It was just challenging, that's the way to put it. So instead, I put together a file that just has the grants available, both state and federal. So commissioners, departments can just review at their leisure. I think that might be a better way to do it.
Yeah, he did say new project request DOA.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's both for the general fund and for the transportation budget.
State's gonna be tough. No operating, no transportation, few bucks for capital and. Tough year. Yeah, so on grants, I'll send that file around to Heather or whoever makes the most sense. And then commissioners, if you want to review it, say, hey, that looks really interesting. I think we should do that. Maybe that's a better way to be less prescriptive on my end. Jeff, sorry, you started with, we're gonna have a brief update on federal agenda. Again, just
This takes time.
yeah, and this is probably our most substantive document that we've had thus far, so we'll continue to shape it. But hopefully this is a good start. Shoot, probably not the time now, but we did discuss having our Murray Cantwell appropriations request potentially be on behalf of another organization, i.e. STARS. We talked about that.
Yes. And I have some ideas for potential other opportunities.
Probably about 30 seconds before Jeff is just literally gonna kick me.
But two parts there, starts further enhancing the existing services, including withdrawal management that we've already invested in. Great idea because it further builds on the work that Commerce and the county did. The other option too is Maddie's Place Therapeutic Housing. That's another one that we've considered where they have already purchased the land and we've already got the designer to look at building that out. They just need a one-time appropriation for the capital project to get that off the ground. That is something the county's already done by building on that project as well. We just further push that reality to a sooner point. So two options to consider on.
Do those thoughts for Senator, sound like we're coalescing around the Thorpe Road, second gate Fairchild for Baumgartner. Or start working on these. And letters of support and all that early sense. Both sooner and fair decisions you can read this.
And then, yeah, and
Question, if we did either of those, would it be through the county to those other organizations, or would we be supporting directly those other organizations?
we have to be the fiscal sponsor for STARS. We just support. Because like Chaz was the fiscal sponsor for Frontier Behavioral Health Facility.
Just a question that I would be curious
Yeah.
about before we make a decision. We don't have to flush it all out right here.
That's terrible.
More to come.
Yeah, more to come on that one.
Think through it.
Yeah, just a question.
And Maddie's Place has a federal piece of legislation, the Miracle Act, that Congresswoman Morris Rogers introduced last session. I will tell you, as of, I think it's this week, Congresswoman Schreier and Congressman Newhouse will be introducing a House version. And so there will be an effort to have one for one bipartisan signups. There was a conversation this morning with Senator Cantwell about having a Senate strategy. So I think there was interest there. And then the Republican lead would likely be Lisa Murkowski, who Congresswoman Morris Rogers, LD, now works for Murkowski. So there's a lot of connectivity, and Hallie Gruber's her name. She did a ton of work on it. So just another piece of legislation that we could or could not support.
Add that.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Apologize for coming over.
Nikki, sorry, we're running late. Thank you for being here.
Important stuff going on.
Yes.
Morning. Good morning, commissioners. Think you all know me. I'm Vicki Carter, the director of the Spokane Conservation District. And with me today is Cole Leroy. He is our government affairs coordinator, and he's here to observe and learn this process because there's gonna be a day that you won't see me. It's not that soon now. You don't believe it, do you?
I don't believe it either.
You'll be here as long as I am.
I do have some history here. Yes, I realize I have been with Conservation District for over half of my life. Which is really remarkable, but it really started, my journey did start with the assessment that came through in 1991, because that is the funding that allowed my position.
You've been here longer than 15 years.
The assessment started in 1991. I've been here 35 years. So anyway, today what I would like to talk to you about and what we have for you is a proposal for rates and charges for 2027 to 2037. As you know, these are 10-year increments, and also to discuss some new legislation that has come forward in this last session, House Bill 1488, that would allow for an inflationary adjustment so that we don't have to keep coming back and having this conversation, which is what the state legislature wanted, and I think it might be something that you would like to take a look at as well. But just to give our two newest commissioners a little bit of a recap, and I think I've met with both of you and explained a little bit of this. But in 1991, state legislation was passed, and that was really at the hands of Spokane County right here. It was John McBride, it was Senator Bob McCaslin, it was Jim Amacio, it was Jim Armstrong. I just saw him out in the hallway. Does that guy age ever? Like, that is amazing. And those, and Morris Pearsall was our board chair at the time. And what happened was, when we were given our state law through RCW 8908, it's a wonderful piece of legislation, but it did not allow any stable funding for us. So for all of these decades, conservation districts were really fee-based, or there was a few federal grants out there that we were eligible for. So our work was pretty minimal, and in Spokane County, it really centered around firewood, and we had a great program doing that. Some PL work, public law work through the federal government, and some restoration work in our forestry program. It was pretty limited. We only had a few employees. Once we were able to have that assessment, which provided that stable funding, it was a game changer for us. So through the proposal, and in particular in the largest document, you'll see how that has changed and how we are now able, without funding, to operate. And we're averaging in this last, just since 2020, at a 5.5 times multiplier. So the funding that we get through that rates and charges, which is right now right at $2 million, how we are able to multiply that out. And this year, if you'll notice, it says a projected budget of 16.9. We're already there. So I know that that figure is a fact. So we're able to take that 2 million and turn that into 16.9 million coming into this county for natural resource purposes. Part of that comes in job creation. I mean, there's some economic drivers to this, and I think you're all familiar with the scale house market, but that's our newest endeavor, and that's over at the quarry. We purchased that property back in 2017. We built it out as a campus. We have a partnership building. We have the small business development center out there. We have the Broadlink office out there. We have a preschool. We have 50 children that are on the property every day, and we built that old building into the scale house market. We're just approaching our 6-month mark. We're at right underneath the $1 million revenue mark. We have put in 15 new jobs. Those aren't conservation district employees. That's a private enterprise that's running that business, a veteran woman-owned business that's managing that. 15 new jobs have been created in 6 months. We have over 100 vendors in the market. We thought we were going to have space for 55 to 60. We have 100 vendors in the market. Those are all small businesses, small farms in our local area that are benefiting from this. And the most recent figure that I got was that we were capturing $34,000 in tax revenue, in sales tax revenue. So those are dollars that are staying in our community. You guys all know that. This is just a real benefit that we have. So along with what we've always called as our our ecosystem services, which is our water resources department, we work very closely with your water resource department. In fact, we work in tandem on many projects. We have our forestry department, big stuff happening there with NRAP. That's the natural resources partner or apprenticeship program. We're working in tandem with the Spokane Community College. So we're helping young people 18 to 24 go through a 2-year program. We're actually paying through a federal grant that we got to be able to get those students into college for 2 years, and then they work for us for 3 years. So when we turn them out, they are ready to get into that workforce. It's a phenomenal program, but those dollars were only available because we have matching money, and that's what this rates and charges does for us. That's how we're able to take that and multiply that out. We're projecting our 2026 budget at $20 million, and then 2027 would be around 22.5. So you can just see how this is this domino effect that's happening and the way that we're able to provide to our constituents in Spokane County. So again, we put the proposal out. There's a process that goes along with this, and I know the 3 of you are familiar with that. But if you were in favor of this moving, so right now we're at $10 per parcel, and that is based on this classification system that we had to develop with you. But we're at $10 per parcel plus 10 cents per acre for agricultural land and developed land, or 5 cents per acre for forested land or undeveloped land. There's some exceptions to that. And I think Commissioner Kearns, you asked me one time, like, what do you do with the people that, are calling in and wanting an exemption? We're asking specifically, like, that fall in the hands of the county, or is that us? Those referrals come to us, and I looked back, we've only had 6. We had 6 from our last time that we asked for this rates and charges. 6 people that had called and asked for an exemption that weren't already on our exempted list. And we review each one of those and we determine if they're eligible or not. So anyway, so we have the process for this is that we will go out and do the public hearings, the public meetings, take the public testimony, and we have to do all of that by August 1st of next year. So that's why I'm here today to talk to you about, things have to kind of move along with this. We're required by law to only have 2 public hearings and public meetings and to locate, 5 distinct postings. But we actually like to go out to every single incorporated area in the county and do the presentation to give as many people the opportunity to weigh in as possible. Once that happens, of course, we bring that back to you, all of that information, and then it's a public process for you to host a meeting and to take public comment and testimony and to make that decision or approval. So today I'm asking for support because it's a big investment for us to be able to go out there and start this process. And then we would come back to you hopefully favorably in August. Again, we're looking for $15, moving from $10 to $15. So annually, it's $1.25 a month, so $15 a year per parcel. So we're asking for a 42 cents per month increase per parcel. And then that inflationary clause comes in, that's HB 1488, where it says, starting in the year 2029, there's a 3-year inflationary adjustment that can happen. And that will cap at $25 per parcel over the span of time. And we've outlined all of that for you in the documents that are in the folder. So that gives that opportunity to make those inflationary adjustments without having to come back year after year or every a couple of years and ask for that. Of course, as our budget has increased, the size of our projects have increased. The state, some of our funding does come through state grants, and we are not, natural resources by and large are not the state priority. It's education, incarceration, mental health. We don't fall within that, although I could make the argument that conservation and natural resources are good for all of those other areas. But so in this particular budget cycle, we're falling very, very short. So it's going to be up to us to create that revenue ourselves. I wanted to just mention a few things that I think you might be familiar with and how we've been involved. We're involved in the landowner negotiations and talks right now on Marshall Creek. I know that's a big one that's happening. We're involved, as I mentioned, in the NRAP program with Spokane Community College. We're still heavily involved out at Newman Lake and the water quality and septic issues that are going on. And we've been working diligently with the Spokane Regional Health District on getting that permit process, and we've got it finally. I mean, those were years of getting that down, working with the Department of Ecology. We have been also instrumental in being the liaison between the landowner and the Department of Ecology out on Hangman Creek and the EPA settlement that came from all of that. We have actually, for the first time in my career, made ground on some of the restoration projects in Hangman Creek that are changing the health of that water body. So we're now seeing sediment levels coming down. We're seeing phosphorus levels dropping. This is the first time in the 35 years that I've been here that this happened. So this is amazing because we've been able to take a much better approach at this. And instead of doing what I call the shotgun approach, we're very targeted and we're doing these very large scale projects. You know, you all know the cliffs that are out there. We're able to do them contiguous now. We're getting landowner after landowner side by side that are wanting in on this program. And that's money that's coming through the State Department of Ecology. They're giving us that money up front for these programs, and they're 15-year contracts with the landowner. We're able to invest that money and we have it invested with you. It's in the SCIP program. So if you look at SCIP reports, there's $1 million, that's us. And so we're utilizing, you know, that partnership and those long-term benefits of that investment as well. And then of course, you know, we have the Scale House Market, which if you haven't been out there, please come and see us. We are so proud of that for our region, and it has already proven to be, you know, such a great success of partnerships with GSI, Visit Spokane, the City of Spokane Valley, in addition to a lot of private business that we're now bringing into the fold. BECU, STCU, Forrester Financial, AgWest, they're all partners in that. It's just been a great demonstration of what can happen with collaboration. We just wrapped up our Farm and Food Symposium, which is one of our largest events that we do every year. We had a sold out event this year at 350 people. Those are, in the tourist industry, those are heads in beds. That is money that's in this community now. They were here for 4 days. Those are dollars that are being spent here while they're learning about the latest in soil health and biofarming, which is what we like to promote in our regenerative ag program. I also wanted to mention, I heard somebody mention fire recovery. I think it was you, Commissioner French. We secured $785,000 out of the DOC to help those victims of the Oregon and the Grace Fire for reseeding, fencing, livestock recovery, tree removal. So those contracts are going out. We will spend every dollar of that in Spokane County. And those are almost spent now. So by the end of this fiscal year, they will be spent. And then for the Scale House Market, there was $1 million that we were able to secure through our state legislature as well as that seed money. And that was one of the greatest demonstrations I've seen of collaboration between our legislators. They all came together, 3 and 4, the Ds and the Rs, the Senate and the House. It was just a beautiful moment in time. And it clearly is benefiting our community. Let's see. So I'm gonna just stop for a minute and take some questions if you have them about either HB 1488 or the rates and charges proposal itself. Again, this is, you know, there's a QR code that will go directly to our website, but I know it's a lengthy document, but we wanted to include for you as much history and background so it was well understood, because this is the same piece that we'll take out to the public. We believe in transparency, and we certainly want people to know what they are getting for their money, for their $1.25 per month. How does that sound?
Pretty amazing, all the work that you do out there. And then you didn't even talk about Vets on the Farm.
Vets on the Farm. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary. Yeah, we had a big celebration. Thank you for attending. Yeah, it was wonderful. A little program here in Spokane that I, thought, help out a few people, and it's in the hundreds of veterans now that have gone through that program and have really transformed their lives. So yes, we're very proud of that. Thank you for bringing that up, Mary. Yeah. It has national attention as well. And I do have to say this because I think it's fair for you to know, but your conservation district is in the top 10 of the nation. And it's probably, I would venture to guess, we're probably in the top 3 to 5, honestly. Especially what we've done recently. The state, or excuse me, the USDA secretary was out here and did a walk through our property and told them everything we're doing. And we said, there is not another conservation district in this country doing this at this level. And there's 3,000 of us across the US. I was just asked to speak at the national conference in February this year about what we're doing here. So I hope that you see it enough that you understand what we do and that you're proud of what we do. But I am always here for conversation, a tour. I would love to do. How many tours do I do?
Probably half a dozen a week. And Vicky does step aside from her work. It doesn't matter who the person is that comes into the conservation district to give them a tour, to talk about our farmers, to talk about our veterans. It really is inspiring, and it's a privilege to work in the conservation district.
So I know that there's always what we call, the tax fatigue, but honestly, this, first of all, it's not a tax, but the benefits that our constituents receive from us, and they do love us. I mean, people love the conservation district because we get to actually provide them with help. And a lot of times it is that direct help and there's certainly indirect all the way around.
We were also just awarded a federal grant of $9.2 million. Those dollars are going to go directly towards home hardening so that we can prevent our wildfires and doing our part to help people prevent those devastating wildfires that have been only increasing. So we're also trusted by the state and federal government. It's great.
I'm one of the lucky ones out on 195 that got their insurance canceled because of my zip code. So that home hardening is a real thing. People are looking for that. And, not everybody has the immediate funding to be able to put in those practices. But that is something that we offer as a free service, the technical part to go out and do the assessment. And then we are very serious about helping them because that is the game changer in some of the fires that we experienced up in, the Valley View fire. I mean, some of those other fires, if people had those home hardening practices in their homes, typically did not burn. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And you will notice on our return for investment on page 5, we are heavily grant funded. That's what we do. So this money is very important to us, again, to match those funds. But we have become extremely successful and proficient in finding and writing and securing grants. So I know it's not fun to be grant based, but we have accepted that, to have a small portion of our funding stabilized, to be able to take that out there and multiply it.
You guys do a great job.
It's impressive, exciting. You're busy.
We are busy.
Maybe you should also do grant writing training for other organizations.
We would
We
actually.
continue to a lot of meetings with other organizations, like whether it's local conservancies or things to help them determine how to manage their boards more effectively or how to source funding that's more stable or so.
Actually, we would love to do that because there is an art to it and yes, and if other people could benefit from that. And I'd also like to just give a shout out to Diana Wilhite. She was one of the people that donated her time during our capital campaign and really helped us with that effort that we raised $5 million to build that scale house market. And we did it in under 2 years, to 18 months. And we pulled that together, and what a collaboration of partners we have out there. It's just exciting.
Other people are already wanting to replicate it.
Oh, yes.
And I keep hearing people say, hey, have you been to the Scale House Market yet? I'm like, yes, I have.
Yes.
We gotta go. So, yeah, so it's exciting. It's amazing that the vision that you've had that's really truly coming to life.
Well, and it's also participate with the Spokane County Cannabis Association, and they also beneficiaries of some of your efforts as well, and from a farming and ag community and stuff. So they've got good things to say about your work.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have the pleasure of remembering back to the Phil Harris and Steve Hassan days, and Phil said, okay, so let me just get this straight. So you guys are the tree people And master gardeners are the flower people. I was like, yep, you got it. That's it. So I love to mention the tree sale because it is our first and longest running program. It started in 1974 with the World's Fair, and it was, you know, part of that environmental stewardship. And we have not missed a year. And it is our longest running and most known program that we hold, and we will do it forever.
Yeah, we turn around those plants and essentially what we get them for from the nurseries, it is solely about getting different plants in the ground in our community and diversifying for our pollinators. It's a great opportunity.
So the flower people can have their flowers.
It all works together.
It does. It's very much a
A lot
synergistic.
of cross pollination.
Yes.
So you were just looking for head nods.
So I am looking for head nods because it's a huge undertaking to put all of this together, to go out to the public. I have to go back to my board and let them know I have a good feeling that there's support that to move forward with this. Because there's a timeline. I need to get back to you guys by August, and there's a lot of meetings that have to be held. And I really believe in the voting process. And so, as I said, we're only required by law to hold 2. We will do 12. We believe in that. And it's a good way for us to do just this, to bring other incorporated areas up to speed. Like, this is what's happening in your community, and let them know what those benefits are to you. So a head nod from Mary. Al, is that a head nod?
Yeah.
Awesome. Chris, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Josh, gonna give me a head nod?
I was hoping to ask you a little more about 1488.
Yes.
So that did pass.
It
It does an automatic inflationary adjustment or something we have to put in to
You will have.
implement the
I
inflationary
I
adjustment.
believe that you are going to have the option of making that something that we could come back and have the discussion about.
So it doesn't audit you, the conservation districts
I think
across
it
state
can go
don't
either way.
automatically get it.
I think it can go either way. I think you could approve it to be an automatic, like when we come back in August, you can say, and we're going to approve this inflationary adjustment. Or you could come back and say, we're going to move forward with this with an adjustment for the first 3-year mark, and then come back. So, and I will do more research and homework. This is brand new. Like this is just rolling out to us. It is our RCW 8908405. But
Increasing the rates, the cap to $25, and every 3 years, the Department of Revenue, using the consumer price index, will inflate that $25 cap. Not well, inflating it so as to adjust it with inflation, not increasing it, but inflating it with inflation every 3 years.
Okay.
That's so that the state can essentially hold authority over where that cap is at and limit the administrative burden of us having to come back every couple of years and ask for that cap to be increased. We've been good stewards of the $10 that we've had for years without getting anywhere close to where the $50 cap was. And now that the cap is going up to 25, we're only wanting to go up to 15 when we haven't increased in a number of years. So we're good stewards of the dollars that we have. What we're trying to do with this inflation adjusted rates and charges framework is that we want to mimic that. What 1488 would allow us to do is that every 3 years, using the consumer price index, the inflation, we would work with the assessor's office to adjust the rates. So that opposed to a $5 increase every 10 years or whatnot, it would be every 3 years would be a couple of cents.
I think what you were asking, if I heard you correctly, though, is you're wanting to know, as you as a body, will you have any ability to weigh in on whether that inflationary adjustment goes into effect or not?
Yeah, is it something we have to say, yes, put the inflationary adjustment in
Yes,
place?
you will have to
Or
do
it's
that.
just, it is now in place across the state for all
No,
conservation
you will.
districts?
You will put that in.
Okay.
That's why we
Okay.
wanted
Yes.
to give you that information.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So a resolution would be, if everything went.
Yep.
Would be to say to the $5 increase to $15 and then allow for House Bill, whatever it is. to-
Right, with an inflationary adjustment clause. As prescribed in House Bill 44. 1488. And we will have to work with, obviously, the county attorney to come up with all of that language. That's part of this process is,
That's Matt.
hi.
Listening.
Okay, great. I got to meet or work with Jack Driscoll on this before, and of course Jim Amacios.
Jim's worth something.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm gonna come back to you, Josh. Are you giving me a head nod?
You can come back to me like.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We'll give you some time back and thank you so much. In the interim,
Could I just suggest that maybe, are you thinking of giving different options to the community when you hold your meetings? Cause maybe what you need to do is kind of find out if people will be more comfortable with a different approach, right? Like including the inflationary cap as part of the cap or not. Is that what you're thinking, or do you want to go out with what you?
in my mind, because I really think that's your decision, the county commissioners, I wanted to present it like, here's the increase, and it allows for this inflationary and take testimony on that. Like if there's pushback on that, we're definitely recording that and going to make note of that. If there's, favor for that or no comment on that, then we'll bring that forward to you.
And they also don't happen at the same time. The inflation or the increase to the rates and charges would go into effect in 2027, whereas this inflationary adjustment that would just keep track of it and keep it accountable to inflation would start in 2029. So, and then that's every 3 years after that. So in that framework proposal, we did an estimate for like a 2.5.
So there would still be an opportunity for the board to weigh in on that based on the public input.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And this is just a scenario that we put together. Just based on an
Thank you.
average of, I think, 2.5 is what we used as an inflationary.
Correct.
So they get their own public testimony and then we still do a public hearing.
Similar to the main board.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. So.
So there's tree people, and flower people, and the weed people.
Exactly, that's it. Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank you
thank
so
you
much.
very much. And
Appreciate it.
again,
Yes.
if there was any questions on any of the programs, or a tour that you wanted to do on any of our projects, please reach out to me. That is what we do.
And it's just before you, what's the $10 bring in?
2 million.
Brings in about 2 million a
Yep.
year, okay.
So it would
So-
raise that to 3 million.
3 million, okay.
Scale house markets year round.
It is year round, yes,
Excited to
yes,
see
we're
it.
starting our winter market, so yeah, it's been going great. We've had multiple people come in from national organizations. The National Organization of the Credit Unions was here in August, they came out. National Association of Conservation District Employees, there were 60 of them, they all came out. It's been really fun. So, and I have to give big shout out to Visit Spokane, GSI, the chamber, everybody's been so supportive in getting the word out and helping people know what's out there. So, yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
Have a good morning.
Nice to see you. Okay, Amy. Sorry, we're a little late today.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm Amy Vega. I'm with Vanessa Behan. Some of you may remember us as Crisis Nursery. And I was giggling over here as they're talking about plants and flowers and weeds. And the reason why we changed our name, in part, taking out nurseries, because so many people called and wanted to bring their sick plants to us. Let alone that we don't want people to think that only if they are in crisis can they access our services, and that we only take infants. So I'm here to talk about the children's waiting room. I have a one pager I'll hand around. I hope there is enough. The children's waiting room is a childcare located just kitty corner from here on the courthouse campus, with the vision of really supporting families and children, keeping kiddos out of court hearings, courtrooms, and anything related to the courthouse. You may all know the history that started back in the 90s, started by the Domestic Violence Consortium it was going on at the time. And Vanessa Behan was asked to take it over in 2022. We had about 2 months' notice. We were able to do some research on what was working, what could be done to improve it. And so we were able to make some changes, taking children as young as infancy. I think our oldest child that's been in there is 13 years old. There's been a lot of research done around the importance of keeping children out of the courthouse, and over 90% of people who've been surveyed say that it has really helped families from having children exposed to trauma related issues. We are in Spokane, the only one left in the state of Washington. There was one over on the west side that closed during COVID. There's a few around the country. So you can see a few things up there about the stats, but in 2024, we served about 800 children. Pre-COVID numbers were over 2,000, the children that were served in that space over the years. On the next slide, you'll see a little bit about why the children's waiting room is so important. And really this gets at why Vanessa Behan is so dedicated to making sure that this program stays alive. It's been going on for, 30 years, and we really just think that it meets a parent's need in the moment. It's on the courthouse campus, so it reduces stress, and we know that stress is a leading cause of child abuse and neglect. So the more we can reduce a family's stress, the safer those children are going to be. Our staff is highly trained in trauma-informed approaches. They're trained to identify child abuse and neglect. So when kiddos come into our space, our parents are coming in having adult conversations. We can role model for that parent and for those children what a healthy conversation and relationship looks like, and really help support those families accessing additional resources beyond what may be offered here at the courthouse or at the children's waiting room. And so there's a lot of reasons why continue to have this program on the courthouse campus is so important. I have convinced our board and begged our board to let us keep that program running at least for another year. Our board has agreed to dip into our reserves if we need to for this next year, if we can't secure the funding in time to make sure that it operates fully at full capacity. So when you look at the next slide, you'll look a little bit, what you'll see on this page is really what our projected budget is. One of the things, and also all the things that we're working on right now. The challenge is, Commissioner Waldrop and I have been speaking probably since early summer about potential cuts to this program. And so we've been looking at everything we can possibly do. We've got a partnership with Hamilton Studios that's going to come over and do a new video that gets showed to all of the jurors, and they're allowed to then donate any of the money they would receive as a juror to the children's waiting room. We anticipate with a newer video that we can increase the juror donations. We average between about 32 to 34,000. So I think 37 seems realistic to increase that funding to. So you're looking at worst case to best case scenario. We are also in the process of applying for a Jesuit volunteer. We have traditionally had one that we keep at Vanessa Behan. We were not able to get one this year just because of they weren't enough applicants, but we've applied again for next year. And our hope is to put that person over at the children's waiting room to reduce the cost. We also have several grants out right now, 2 that are out there right now, several more that are coming available for us to apply. Most of you understand grants take months to secure and aren't guaranteed. And then we're also looking, ever since we opened the children's waiting room, we have really tried to have a volunteer model over there. So one paid staff member with volunteers. Volunteering has really gone down since COVID, and so we're really struggling. We have one volunteer over there once a week for about 4 hours, but we're continuing to try to secure additional volunteers. So what you're looking at here on this screen is really a potential of the worst case scenario. The budget's going to be about $90,000. The best case scenario, about $20,000. But we will continue to work and try to secure as much funding as we can as we continue to do our goal of privately funded organization. You'll also see that $90,000 doesn't include what the county has donated. And I want to be very grateful for the fact that that space over there is donated, which comes with maintenance and cleaning services. And they are phenomenal to our staff over there. So really appreciative of that partnership. So on the last real page that you'll look at is kind of our ask, the history and the ask of the children's waiting room. This has been a partnership with the county, I believe, since from the very get-go in the 1990s. I don't have any detail of the funding there, but the county has really been supporting Vanessa Behan and the children's waiting room over the years. And I know the proposal is to cut the program completely. And so that's why I'm here to ask if you would consider investing $20,000 in 2026, be about an $80,000 reduction, but that really helps us in the best case scenario that we can secure those grants and maybe just Jesuit volunteer to really offset those costs. And then we're hoping that we can stair step that down over the years as we continue to work to try to find the private funding for that. So that's really the request up here is $20,000 this next year, stair step down to $10,000 in 2027. Although I would love the opportunity to come back and let you know where the funding is, what we've secured, what maybe the gap is, and continue that conversation. And we would love to see some good faith effort of having the counties some skin in the game of some kind of ongoing support over the years as we continue to try to run this program. I will just get on my soapbox for just a second and just say that we know that 90% of brain development is done before a child is 5 years old, before they enter our formal education system. Those things are happening to children, are foundational in forming them. We've got to start investing in our children at a very young age and flipping that switch and really making that investment early. And we know that by removing children from adult conversations, from adult interactions, and really being able for our staff to pour into them at an age appropriate developmental level with a trauma informed lens will significantly change the landscape in the future. Investing in children is a 20, 30-year launch pad. Where we're at with our city right now didn't happen overnight. This is because we haven't invested enough in our children and families. And so that's why I'm here to ask for that partnership. So would entertain questions. I will leave my business card if there's other conversations to be had, but just want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I'm sorry if you let off with, when did the children's waiting room start?
In the 1990s, it started with the Spokane Regional Domestic Violence Consortium.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't have enough of the details on that, but I do
No
know
problem.
that when I was the program director at MSVN, we would augment some of the staff over there.
So it's been going for 30 years?
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And we took it over in 2020 from a Ken, formerly Children's Home Society that ran it. I
Okay.
think between the county and us.
Pointing out, there was an email from Judge Zamblin, I think this morning, that I saw that there's court is also trying to look at other grant opportunities as well.
That was written into that about $70,000 in grants we're looking at. That's a portion of that.
Has there been any promising leads on getting firms to help with some charitable donations?
Not any promising leads yet, but we
Really?
continue to
That's
make those
too
phone
bad.
calls, so. You know, we try,
Yeah.
I think it's hard to follow up and people are busy and getting back to us, but yeah, we'll continue to try.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we know, I mean, 20,000, I mean, is a great reduction from where you were at. I mean, do we know I mean, if this is Superior Court, I mean, the presiding judge has reached out, do we know if Superior Court have the 20,000 in their budget where they could cover this?
I don't know
Maybe
that they have it
because of the
specifically
close
earmarked.
Relationship, I mean,
It's certainly something that the commissioners could suggest having them funded out of their budget.
I mean, it just seems like it's such a tool of Superior Court of that system. Should it be something that Superior Court should look to see if they can absorb in their budget? But it's still county dollars, but going through Superior Court.
Superior Court, just to remind you, they had 220,000 over budget.
Okay.
They had a contra of 220 put in to bring it to a flat budget. The board at this point has them at 110 back. So they actually are already managing $110,000 deficit.
Okay. Okay.
I don't think he's optimistic.
Okay. So I'm just saying.
Just some context.
So their letter is very much we support this if you pay for it, so.
Well, I
Yes,
think Judge
yeah.
Zamla is reaching out to private sources to try and meet the gap, right? Is that what she was saying in the letter? So, looking at lawyers associations, bar association, individual law firms, I think we did have a meeting with Judge Zamblin, myself and Amy and Colin from the Public Defender's Office, and we brainstormed a bunch of different firms and we've been following up. The reality is we've only had about 5 months to get out there and spread the word. And so usually when you're applying for grants or getting donations, it just takes a little bit longer. So you are confident that your board, if there was a shortfall this next year, like you didn't get the full 70,000 you were trying to raise, that your board would step in at least this next year?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
With some of your reserves.
Reserves, exactly. But I will tell you, if we can't figure out how to secure that in the next year, then that.
Right, so we have kind of a 2-year time frame to try and make it sustainable.
I would say about 12 months, right? If we're here this time next year and haven't been able to secure the funding, then it will be cut from our 2027 budget would be my guess.
I think going from over 100,000 to 20,000 is a very significant reduction, and I appreciate all of your efforts to try to find a longer term solution. Enlist volunteers wherever you can, and I just think that's a really good use of money for reducing the impact of some of those traumatic situations on kids. There's a lot of talk about ACEs.
Yep.
And if you are a young kid and you have to sit through a family law hearing or something like that, information you just don't need to be hearing, I think that's worth a lot in the long run, so I would support the request.
Ask again, how many other counties do you say have a similar program?
In the state of Washington, we're the last one.
We are, okay. How do the other counties manage? I mean, is there another type of way? I mean, there's very few things where we're the only county that does something.
Right, well.
How-
I think
how does it
I think
work?
Spokane does really well.
How does it
That's
work
one
in
of
the
them,
other
Right, I only know the one in Kent closed during COVID. I don't know about across the country, other ones out there and how
Okay.
they're funded.
I think it was just us in King County until COVID. Prior to COVID, years ago, there were some additional counties, and King County was a little casual.
No, I appreciate it. I appreciate the information. I think we're going through the list and figuring out what we have available. So I think this will get added to our list to see what we can buy back or not buy back.
Well, thank you for the time. I would also say, be advocates. If you know people who are looking to volunteer, we would love to have more volunteers over there. That will make a huge dent in that as well. So, again, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
You
You guys do great work.
I appreciate that.
That program, you're gonna buy your kids back.
Yeah. Justin, you're back.
I'm back again.
Hang out here all morning?
Hey, I would love to hang it out with you guys. Well, this should go relatively quickly, so that is good news. This is just a preamble for the big update in December for all of our contracts, so you get the joy of that much later this season. So two of these are cleanup items. We wanted to make you aware of the Valley Opioid Interlocal Agreement, still not yet complete. We've been working on this for the last year. There are some challenges in the language. Again, they're still wanting to give us the money, but
How much is the money?
Yeah, it's.
well, we haven't got an update. The original amount
I
was
thought
$40,000.
How much?
$40,000.
Oh, see, I thought originally it was even less than, I thought it was in the teens.
Well, it was an original amount of 40,000 and then ongoing somewhere between 17 to 20,000
Okay.
annually. However, recent disbursements may have changed that because we've been talking about it for a year. They haven't gotten an update yet on how much. The biggest sticking points were requirements that they kept adding into their contract language, forcing us to do their reporting. We kept removing those. So at this point, the last iteration between Nathan and I back, I think successfully identifies where our responsibilities lie. And I hope that they just agree to those. So that's where we left it.
And if they don't, then they just have their funds and they can do what they want to.
I am hopeful that we can come to a mutual agreement that still preserves the support to our regional crisis center. So I'm confident we'll meet that, and the fact that the crisis relief and sobering center is still a year and a half out, we've got some time, but we'll get there.
So that's what they anticipate the funds to go to.
Yes, to the operations and support, which would offset some of the cost of to their Valley residents that would be receiving this. And it's helpful, despite whatever amount. Thank you.
It is.
Yes,
So we're waiting on them right now, is that?
Yes.
Current status, okay.
yeah, we submitted back our last language. I think it's reasonable. I think they'll accept it, and I think at that point, we should be able to seal the deal.
Be great to have that regional piece. So.
Yes. Excellent. Next one. This is another cleanup that recently came forward. So I'll give you some backstory on this one because it goes back to 2021 to 2022. So at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, former director of community services in conjunction with Scott agreed to participate in a SNAP weatherization and improvement for the Phoenix Therapeutic Housing Center, which is owned by the county. Part of that would improve both the air conditioning units as well as the heating units on top of the building. we got approved for that and accepted into the program. We thought at that time there would be a 6-month turnaround and they'd be able to install it, we'd be ready to go. That seemed to fall by the wayside with everything that was going on, and we didn't hear back from them. So we thought, okay, maybe we didn't meet the requirements of the program. In 2024 or 2023, then they actually 2024, they actually completed the work in June. So more than 2 years later, they came and actually implemented the work that was originally approved in the end of 2021. However, at that time, they were supposed to complete a covenant agreement to kind of follow the guidelines of the commerce and to ensure that we met the requirements of the program for a 3-year period. It sounds like at that time when they completed it and did a final inspection, staff at SNAP who oversaw the program left, so it fell by the wayside. We were then approached just a month ago to say, hey, can you guys sign this covenant? Because now Commerce is asking for us to ensure everything's in place. We said, okay. They sent us the agreement and they're already a year out for part of that agreement in the 3-year. So we're already about 1.5 years into what the 3-year agreement would have been. So we are now arguing between what are the stipulations that we would have had to be in between May of 2024 till May of 2025, which locked us into a rental, which we did not increase. So that's good news, but it would have locked us into certain restrictions. So in talking with legal and with Scott, we were able to send back language that prevented additional liability, but still met the requirements of the Commerce grant and what staff has to achieve. We're still waiting to hear back from them. We do recommend to close out this and clean this up, that once we get the final legal agreement from from SNAP that clarifies the stipulations of the last 3 years and capping us until 2027, board pass a resolution to accept that covenant, and then we can just put this to rest. Because the last thing we want is them to come out about the AC units. That wouldn't be helpful. And I do think that we've met all the obligations. There is not, from what I've read in there, any indication that we are liable for anything. We followed the requirements of the covenant from the beginning. I'd just like to put this one to rest. So when we get that back, we'll be putting that forward to the board in the near future, probably in the December timeline. No additional money will be required. Yeah, no additional liability. And I brought my attorney in case you have any questions on it.
Exactly.
Very convoluted.
Yes, we've been parsing through this. But I'm confident that based on what we're able to read, as well as the language additions that I put back, there shouldn't be any risk to the county of this. Unless we decide to sell the building, which we can't or shouldn't, without incurring that cost back to staff. So there is no intention that I've heard from the board to do that in the near future, so we're good. Nathan, would you concur? Yes.
Running over here just to say yes.
Hey. You look great in the suit too, so I want him to. It really makes the presentation cost, okay?
It was a very legal yes, so.
Yes. Well, I'm gonna make him earn those. Allocation. And then the second part to this is not in the agenda that I wanted to make the board aware. I came in last week to talk about setting aside some money for food assistance. And at the time, I was looking at the funds, and although there was not explicit prohibition from using those funds, to further review with our legal team, especially in the environment that we're currently facing with the state looking at clawback funds, there wasn't explicit permissive use in that area, which is what they recommend. So I could.
So now he's saying no.
I am saying to protect the county for potential liability.
You got it both covered.
We are both in agreement that it would make best sense that we would get approval from the state before we proceed to use those funds in that way. I do think that long-term protects the county from having to incur any additional repayment costs, which does put us in a pickle because I don't think, I could get a response from the state in writing that quickly. So, no, I have to say Nathan and the team really, although dashed my dreams, did so in a very responsive and county protection manner that I think is responsive to what we're trying to achieve. So I actually defer that over to George, who might be able to have more flexibility than I can. So achieving the same goal that we hope to make I do apologize to George that I may have started that conversation, pushed it. Either way, I do think there is money available to be able to provide, so
And I happened to get a chance to connect with a number of you last week on this, and the original thought was 50,000 just from funds. Justin had identified 50,000 from the document recording fees, and with that evaluation, which I think is the right evaluation, George's team felt like there's easily the ability to stay at the 100,000 with the document recording fees. So that's what's in the resolution for this afternoon. Just the document recording fees. So we still were able to achieve the outcome.
and apparently I'm really good at having other people spend money, so I mean, I'm gonna look at other ones. The sheriff's coming up, maybe I'll spend some of his money too.
Exactly, I think so.
So
Very good.
appreciate that. Any questions? Excellent.
So, thank
Short
you.
tweet. Thank you all.
I appreciate all the efforts on this. So.
Yeah.
No, we got.
Item 5K is the awarding of that money to Second Harvest today, so
Okay.
it's on there for today.
You gonna do it or not?
Yeah.
You guys will decide this.
You're.
If we have 3 votes.
It's through a different source. It's
Oh,
through-
we're doing source and ready.
That is allowable.
Yeah, no, I'm fine.
So George can speak to that. I'm sure he will. We're just talking about the food. This is.
Okay, yeah, I was like, help me understand. Yeah, so, what about the system,
The-
sorry.
The funding, you found the funding that was through that is. Legal has approved.
Legal is approved, you have a resolution on your 2 o'clock meeting, I think it's item,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Three payments.
So, yeah, we're good to go on that.
Okay.
And the resolution is to direct that to Second Harvest directly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, Second Harvest is called out in that resolution. We're working with Second Harvest currently to get scope of work, budget, et cetera, to put in our contract. So, yep, good position there. Good timing, good opportunity to be able to help out during the holiday season. So this item that we're here to discuss is with regards to the long-term recovery group. So back in March of this year, we came to you all after we had found out that the long-term recovery group had come short on some funding. And asked the commissioners if they'd be willing to partner with the Novia Foundation to fund the completion of those 8 homes that had been started. The long-term recovery group had identified that they had a budget gap. So we entered into contract. The contract started on April 1st. And Brittany has been doing a great job managing the contract. But we've got some receipts that came in that were prior to that contract start date. So we want to just brief you on that and then ask for you all to support contract revision. So Brittany.
Yeah, so just a little bit of context on that contract. It is the local funding, sales and use tax, and it was exclusively for building materials. So we kind of had a little bit of a rough start, kind of with some clarity of if there was some labor allowed and that wasn't. And so we kind of had to readjust with the long-term recovery group, and we're able to get some expenses in for April and June and May. And those are being sorted. We do have one that's currently dispersed, just about over 11K. And the other ones just have a couple little tweaks to make to be eligible. But then we had those February and March expenses come in, and that's when I reached out to Terry and I'm like, hey, these are before our contract start date. We can't reimburse you for these, even though they are building material costs. And so she came back and we had discussions around the board about, is it possible to amend this contract to be able to include those expenses and be able to get this wrapped up? So with that, that's where we are today. Those February and March expenses would take her total request just under that 40K, which is that total contract amount. So these would wrap up that contract. if we were to approve that. So what we're asking today is just coming to you for your approval to change the terms of the contract period of performance to backdate it just those 2 months to be able to include those expenses. And then they have to kind of work out on the back end with Novia. I don't know what their contract situation is like over there. But that would be kind of the bow on this one.
We're not adding any additional money to it or anything, just really to capture some receipts prior to the contract execution.
In the meeting that the board approved the contract, I was not at that meeting. And otherwise I would have pointed out that the date on the contract was not reflective of when we actually started spending money and stuff. And so, I take ownership of the fact that I wasn't at the meeting. Otherwise, I would have made you aware that, they'd already started to incur cost well before the contract date that we had for the start of it. So.
There's no questions or concerns, then yeah, we're just asking for your approval to do that amendment by contract. Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Nathan's coming in.
We have another executive session.
No, one this afternoon.
Pardon?
No, one this afternoon.
Okay. Got 10 minutes the most, pending potential litigation.
Want me to just go?
Yeah.
Okay, so commissioners, I'm gonna let Nathan do most of the briefing here in looking over Title V for animal control, working with the sheriff's team. We've our animal control policy right now requires that our animal protection officers receive a kind of special commissioning through the sheriff's department. And it's involved and takes some of their time to do that and monitor it. As Nathan has went back through and looked at RCWs, the RCW already has statutes as to the roles and responsibilities of our animal protection officers in their duties. So the proposal is to revise Title V, remove the references to special commission or limited commissioning through by the sheriff's department, and then just reference state statute, which sets forth the responsibilities and their duties. So Nathan, I'll have you take that away.
Right. Good morning, everyone. So basically, and unfortunately, we're gonna have some people from Scraps here today, but issues came up, so I'll just kind of cover on their behalf some of what's going on and some overview here. So for quite a long time, County Code 504 has required that Scraps, animal control officers, animal protection officers, and the director maintain special commissions from the sheriff's office as part of their the definite part of our requirements under the county code. If we look to the applicable RCWs for animal care and control agencies, specifically 1652-015, basically if an animal control agency is the designated animal control agency for the county or the municipality, they may enforce the applicable animal control RCWs and then also the applicable county municipal codes for those agreements based on the definitions in 1652-015 and RCW 1652-011 in defining animal care and control agencies. The statute does specify the powers for animal protection, animal control officers, noting those terms are kind of used somewhat interchangeably in our code. That basically they can issue civil infractions. So all our different civil violations, as we noted, that those are the municipalities that we contract with. Issue citations for probable cause for misdemeanor and gross misdemeanor matters, and then directing law enforcement officers, sheriff's deputies, or police officers to arrest individuals for those pertinent animal crimes. And then also author search warrants to be enforced to carry out with the animal, to seize animals, evidence of a crime with assistance of law enforcement officers, and then also have non-firearm protective devices for their personal protection. So basically, the RCW covers everything that scraps officers are currently doing right now, and removes the requirement that they have the special commission. This is something that's beneficial for county and sheriff's office. If anybody has reviewed the special commissioning statutory schemes, or all the different commissioning statutory schemes, CJTC has increasingly put stricter requirements on the commissioning requirements. Our scraps officers do already go through certain CJTC academies and trainings, but there are a lot of different layers. The ultimate goal in terms of getting the code amended here is to remove that requirement, make very clear that we're tying this to the RCW requirement for us, and then the municipalities that we contract with. The powers should remain unchanged, but then also looking at our code, at the definitions that we have for our animal protection officers and our director, to make sure that their roles and responsibilities are clarified, and we clearly define what their authorities are as it pertains to enforcing the animal RCWs, and also the county code provisions that pertain to animals that would also then apply to the municipalities where animal control enforces in different cities that we contract with. And just try to address some of those ambiguities to help make it as clear as possible for scraps, for the county, and for all parties. So this is, primarily on the paperwork administrative side, but hopefully to make it a little bit easier for everybody else, make it easier for scraps to be able to operate under the board and its directors with board oversight to its authority, and kind of remove the administrative requirements from the sheriff's office. Of course, they're still going to be involved as it pertains to like enforcing warrants when it comes to seizing animals, taking into custody individuals for animal crimes, felony offenses, more involvement from sheriff's office or the applicable law enforcement agency as it pertains to that. And otherwise just trying to make everything more efficient and clear for all involved. I'm happy to answer any questions, explain any areas as would be helpful.
Just real quick, what does the training program look like for these officers if they don't have to do certain things that would be under CJTC?
They still go through animal control, animal protection officer training through CJTC. That's offered through them, so that all of our individuals go through that. And then any sort of if they have like non-lethal, as long as it's either pepper spray, baton and
pepper
spray, then they actually would have to go through training as well in order to have those. And what we are doing, and we've worked with the sheriff's team on this as well, is one of our officers, Chris Miller, sick today, otherwise he would have been here, is going through the training over in Burien, I believe. And then that will allow him, once he receives that training, to come back and be the instructor here for our APOs, so that each of them don't have to go over there and receive the training, spend the time away, the cost, all that sort of stuff. So it'll be we have policies and procedure manuals that are being written up around this sort of stuff. So those are kind of some of the training specific things that they go through.
And so, it's there's a multi-week it's a many-hour CJTC animal protection officer training course that they put on for them as part of their training there. And then part of the goal is to make sure that we have a training system in place as it pertains to the non-lethal defensive tools. Scraps officers are not going out there directly to arrest people, however, the nature of their job, there are dangers and being able to have the skill set and a training scheme regarding defensive, extracting oneself from a problematic situation, dealing with challenging animals, that's all part of having that training system set up as part of our kind of review of policies, procedures, and revamp to make sure that they're set to be as safe as possible out in the field.
Do most other counties have non-commissioned control?
It's a mixed variety.
Just curious.
Yeah, there's, you know, and there, I think we saw that there's some that have, some that don't. We've seen examples of both throughout the state nowadays, but.
Some counties actually, this function is under the law enforcement, under the sheriffs. It's a mixed bag.
There's a good idea. Do you want?
Oh.
Yeah, is that why you're here?
Well, look, at the end of the day, no, I think it's not that I don't. We can definitely look at how that works, but I mean, just remember, there's a bunch of stuff that comes with that. Clearly, if you have non-law enforcement people, you're getting it for a lower price per employee, but you also have a little less flexibility in how those resources are used, so. But I don't want scraps. I don't mind having the enforcement part of it. We can certainly have that conversation. I think I was telling Scott earlier, I don't want the pet jail, but I can certainly work with having the pet enforcement officers.
I still be good if you
don't
want
want
part of it.
Make it a part
He gets all of
the
it.
deal.
Yeah,
No-
take it or leave it. It's a package deal.
Well,
He doesn't want any jail.
well, the jail used to be under the sheriff. Let's just put scraps under the sheriff.
No, I think that's specifically what I was saying.
No, that sounds great. You brought it up and I think it's a great idea.
Saying stuff, nothing,
So many-
perhaps it's under the auditor's office.
Wait a minute.
Wow.
Put it under,
Let's get Vicky in here.
yeah. I mean, it's.
Throwing out ideas
It-
tonight. I like that.
So you,
Brainstorm.
I will say, taking that out of the county code makes a lot of sense, because kind of with us half in and half out, it required or obligated us to keep records of things that we didn't easily track. So it's clean. I mean, you have to be either all in, as was proposed, some counties do, where you have fully commissioned law enforcement officers doing the animal protection stuff. Or you do all out, where they're just civilian, they utilize the state statutes for their authority. Either way works fine.
There's some other things, and this has been an opportunity for the team to revamp their policies, procedures, and update them. And one thing that we've made really clear with them is if you ever find yourself in a situation that's threatening to themselves, their first and only option is remove themselves from it, call law enforcement if they're in an emergency situation. So that's also really clear in their policies, so that the non-lethal is not because to do the duty of a law enforcement is really to just be protective. They oftentimes, animals they deal with, they are pretty aggressive. So having those for their safety is the primary focus. So that was it. So
Well, I was just gonna ask, did this come up in just our review of the contract as we're reaching out to other jurisdictions about the contract? Or about the codes that we have?
it was mostly initiated just internally through
Oh,
our
okay.
conversations with the sheriff's department and this whole concept of limited commissioning.
Right.
But this is being reflected in all the contracts that we have with the jurisdictions. So we were ahead of this. We've probably been starting to study this probably 3 or 4 months ago before we got the ILAs updated. So this is all, you'll see all the underline which is the new replacement sections that Nathan referred to in your packet. I think we plan on probably having this on your December 2nd regular legislative session.
Thank you all.
Great. Wow. Hi. Big sheets of paper. Just favorite. Agreed.
What call on this one? What page?
Bigger.
Oh, we
Read it.
throw it up on the, so you'll recognize the basic format as being the agency summaries that every department had. In the middle column, in the 2025 budget, that's 25's, hasn't changed. If you look to the right, where it says as submitted at the top, we were talking with the budget office asking why. We are the budget office. We are talking to the sheriff budget office. I do talk to myself sometimes, that's a different story. We're asking why it was going down from 33 to 31. That conversation probably 2 months ago. We found you'll recall mid-year this year, we added the 1.5 million just shy of for the valley. And that, because it wasn't in the original budget, didn't make it on. And then there was another just over 1 million from contract cities that needed added in. And then further down below, you'll see where there's that red line. And we'll talk to that more later. The ARP dollars for the real-time crime center need to be held on. So those were added in, which takes you to the 34 million on the far right, which gives you more of what you expect on the trend line of costs going up. The red box is where we're trying to normalize taking out non-normal payroll functions. So in 2024, we had 2 settle and adjusts with the valley. Both 23 and 24 settle and adjust happened. So that's why there's a spike in 24, leaving the remainder more what you would kind of expect to see. In 25, we had anticipated the 24 settle and adjust happening. However, it's not going to get finalized probably till early next year. So we backed out that assumption. And then the 700,000 is roughly half of that 1.5 million that we added into the new 26, but half of it was realized in this year, 25. So that gives you more of the trend line you'd kind of expect to see in numbers. Bottom line, this is an exercise in, we've talked with the sheriff's team, with the sheriff. We do believe there'll be enough dollars in the sheriff's budget to accommodate the $650,000 vehicle request. We had originally balanced the budget, the sheriff's team had originally balanced their budget across the unincorporated and the contract cities equally. But the contract cities pay full freight. So when we realized they're paying their full freight, that backed some of the unincorporated money back out of those budgets, which is giving some capacity. So currently, the vehicles are tentatively drafted in as a general fund balance item. We're comfortable believing this will work. If for some reason our math is off, we'll need to revisit it. But we do believe there'll be capacity here.
So the capital is now gonna be within your general fund.
Yeah, so we
budget.
feel we can cover that with the current budget.
And then that stays in his budget as we go forward in the next years then too, so we can.
It would be, yes, you'll see the bottom number goes up from the submitted. We'll have to look and see where we are, but yes, conceptually.
If we were to do flat again, it would be included in that flat number. Correct. Correct. Yep.
Just wanna make sure that we're not excluding it in the future to
If
go.
it works out the way we think it's going to.
Yes.
That's what all budgets are.
Statement.
Yes. But yeah, that's the intent.
And this is, I mean, it was a great exercise that Jeff put together. It takes the noise out of the budget. It normalizes it, so you can really look at kind of charges for services and as you look at kind of the adjusted, the trend looks what we would expect, 31.7 in 23. I'm looking at the red box. Little growth in 24, 32.2. Now you take into consideration with the additional officers who have been added to the valley, goes up to 34. So it shows that there's expected growth in that revenue, which would match the growth in the expenses for those particular contracts.
And Jeff and Tessa, correct me if I'm wrong, this still does not include the 10 we will be adding in 2026.
So that'll be
Just so
added
that
both-
number will go up on January.
Both the revenue and the expense,
Right.
but it is budget neutral since it is both revenue
Yes.
from the valley and the expense.
Right now, our expectation there is probably about 2.5 million. That's what that's looking like.
So that will probably be an amendment that comes early in 26 unless the valley sends it over earlier.
And it's just a revenue.
Right,
and
yeah,
expense.
it's something we also.
It doesn't impact the budget.
But then gets added when we look at pictures.
Correct.
Budget.
We have to make sure that it does.
2026 amended budget.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a fine that we'll do better next year.
Yeah, okay.
So if you guys are good with this concept, talking with the sheriff, we're all feeling comfortable with it, we'll get him his cars and his budget. Okay. Let's bring something on this one.
Just, let me be very clear. The cars will help us limp along where we need to be, but it certainly isn't probably long-term gonna be a sustainable level of purchasing cars, because I think we're only at 10 here.
This is 10, yes.
And again, if you remember our plan that we presented a year ago, the need to probably be at the more like the 1.2, 1.3 million a year to sustain the program we had put. We're fine, we're gonna have, well, I hope we don't have a bad snow year and a lot of cars get wrecked, because we could be, running around borrowing cars, but just want to make sure long-term, we can't stay at the 10 cars per year with an agency this size.
I think this thing.
Sure, yeah, better.
So next one, go to detention.
DEM.
Yeah.
Next on the list. The sheriff's here.
So DEM is one of our challenging budgets. Vintage wise, probably our most challenging budget, with the city taking roughly $198,000 funds of their funds and paying an in-house person. From what I hear, frequently calls Chandra. At this point, the board did add back $4,000, which was just to move us up a little bit, some percentages would work, that we'd get the entire EMPG grant. This would, at this level, it's my understanding there would be a person would be laid off. We know there's a retirement happening in the backfill to that.
Yes.
That one's all in place, but this would be a additional FTE reduction. Chandra has shared it'd be difficult for her to accomplish all of her work. We have talked with George's team, seeing if we use CDBG DR funds. At this point, he doesn't believe they're eligible for the operational side. We have to. If we get a new command center, whatever from the ZOC. So just wanted to, this is on our final business list. You have one to add, Sheena?
Well, we're still in the process of trying to work with the other partners who contribute per capita rates. We do have a proposal out to them about raising the per capita rates to the point where we call it option 3 on the spreadsheet. I'm sure you've all seen it, which would allow us to stay at 5 DEM employees plus Chandra, which is really kind of the minimum we need to do the on-call and everything like that. If we don't go to that option, we have to go down to 4+1. We will no longer have the ability to stay on call. I mean, it's pretty unreasonable to expect our people to be on call 1 week every month. It's exhausting and it does interfere with life. But we're still waiting to hear back. Obviously, any of these adjustments to the per capita rate impact the unincorporated county and the city of Spokane Valley far more than it impacts everybody else. Right now, the Valley is talking about that with their public safety group, and I know they thought they wouldn't be able to get anything in front of their council for a decision until the 18th, which is this week, if I do my math correctly. But we're hoping to hear more from them. I think Airway Heights was the only other jurisdiction that hadn't given us a firm yes. All of the other jurisdictions were fine going with the option 3 raise in per capita rates. Some even said they would be willing to do more, but you know, when you're talking about an organization going from $7,000 to $12,000, they're always willing to do more, where, you know, it's gonna end up costing, you know, the county and the Valley essentially a split between that $190,000 we lost with the city. County a little bit bigger share of that, the Valley a little bit less, but they're real dollars for the county and the Valley that, you know, we're gonna have to figure out, can we absorb that or can't we? No way to sugarcoat it. The federal funding does look like it's going to come through, so kind of the whole doomsday, oh my gosh, the sky really is falling, probably isn't gonna come to fruition, but that really doesn't pay for all of the personnel. It just pays for some of the equipment, some of the personnel that are funded from those. So
how much is that?
I wanna say couple $100,000 from one of the federal grants, which pays for personnel. It might have been 200,000. And I'm not sure if we got a reduced amount because of losing the city in that. I don't remember.
I don't remember.
And
Yeah.
they changed calculations at the state and federal level, which means we're getting less dollars than we used to. But again, we're not losing all of them. We're keeping the majority of them, but with losing the $200,000 from the city just hurt our ability in it. And it's not like, you know, we had 15 employees doing all this work. I mean, we've been running a pretty bare bones operation. So
Was that calculated in the amount? I guess that's.
The grants are separate from this. This is just your general fund.
yeah, which in the general fund, does that include Chandra's salary there with 224,000?
This is the additional ask.
Is that what the additional ask is?
The green column is what we are funding.
The 224 is the additional ask.
That's what the ask, right, yeah, at the end of the day.
So what would the, because that's putting the 2 positions back, right? The
It's-
224.
Well, one.
Saving one. Well, the one is gonna happen through attrition. We went up one to have some overlap as of the time it's happening. But this would keep status quo.
Yes,
So status quo meaning the person.
5 plus 1.
5 plus Shanda.
So I assume it's not one position solely for 224, but there's additional COLA things in there. What is the 224?
And
Well, you look for that, Scott, you said you had spoken with the Valley, right? And they were not interested?
Well, from, when I talked to John Holman last week, he indicated he believed that they would not be supportive of it. That's the other person I talked to.
I assume they're the highest payer of all
Next to
the
us.
others, yeah, behind us, so.
I don't recall what their number was, but 60,000.
Yeah, it's probably 70 to 80, if I remember. Or 70 or 80 more. Definitely more.
It's just staff, it would be. less.
224 maintains their limited M and O. Keeps staff at status quo, so it restore that person, plus cover COLAs for everybody and step increases. Oh, and they also are having. They just joined a union, which is recalculating some things.
Some of the on-call rotation pay and the overtime
Good.
pay are a big portion of, in addition to just straight staff hours,
There's
the on-call
about
pay things.
36,000 here, it looks like in additional paid benefits. That will be coming that direction as part of union agreements. I don't know if those agreements have been finalized yet, but that's gonna be okay,
I do not think their contract has been.
finalized. So I say between unionizing M&O, one person, and the steps and COLAs for the.
Well, if we don't do anything above 4,000, how are they gonna keep up with basic COLAs for the current staff?
Now, that's an issue, but we've been waiting for the union negotiations to be complete to even know what we're looking at. Can't solve on something,
Yeah.
missing a piece of the equation.
But if that's includes the M and O for the whole office. I mean, if we don't fund it,
Sure, there's other M&O.
And I
Oh,
think the
there's the board.
request that the sheriff is describing with the other interlocals is to fund DEM to that 224,000, but it shares some of that burden of the 224,000 with other agencies.
right,
They reduced their M&O by about 12,000, it appears. They still have 158,000 between supplies and services. I assume it's.
A lot of it's code red, other things like that, they're.
Yep.
Yeah, and the reality of it is, I think you're seeing the math correctly, even if, so let's say the Valley doesn't want a partner, they don't want, which is fine. But we're still gonna probably have to cut more than one position, because that one position plus, that salary and benefits isn't gonna equal the 220. So I think you're seeing it correctly. Yes, we would probably have to cut even more than the one. We would probably have to go below 4, which is not good. 4 isn't good. But
will there be increased overtime costs with the 4 if they have to cover for each other?
Probably. If there's a disaster.
especially if they're unionized, and again, without knowing what that union
Yeah,
contract.
what that gonna cost?
We'll know more hopefully tomorrow evening, it sounds like, from the Valley. Be about a 90, was it a 93,000 our projected piece? If everybody went with the new jurisdictional rates. About a $93,000 increase to the county's portion. And the Valley's gonna be right, that's in the ballpark.
Remember, I came in with a win before this.
It might be one you have to do an amendment on the dais December 1st when we know more,
Well, didn't you
when we
have,
know more information from other jurisdictions.
didn't you identify more than 650 in the sheriff's budget? Is it 7? I couldn't tell. Or is
There was
it-
already money in that line.
Okay,
It went from like 10. Yeah, it went from 109.
there's only about a $50,000 difference.
That's 109,992.
Right, and if you add 650 to it,
I think you did 759.
yeah, so 50, yeah. I was just thinking creative.
Oh, I agree with
I
you.
mean, there's 50,000 maybe. Right?
No, we need 650 for the vehicles.
Oh, you already have the 109.
The one in-
Okay. Sorry.
I know there's more decisions to make on the decision matrix probably this afternoon, so don't necessarily need you to get to someplace right now, because I know we want to talk about detention services.
Detention's a big, depending what you do on detention will inform the funds.
But it seems like, to the sheriff's point, if we don't even do like, I don't know, 90 to 100,000, can we even keep the other employees at the rate of pay that they would be, they would accept?
You'd have to do, I would guess you'd have to do something to keep it to only one person. Yeah. Yeah, no.
Yeah, we have to work very closely with Chandra to
That's also hard to know until we know.
manage the budget, what the, yeah, what the budget is.
If the valley is open to thoughts around helping, do we know kind of how long that process of getting those various commitments would be from the jurisdictions? I'm just trying to think of plugging in an increased number that's kind of assuming that some of that comes through. If it doesn't throughout the year, then there'll have to be a decision.
Keep going on the ILAs.
I was just trying to think of a kind of bridge addition.
I was saying like maybe put in and then we don't get the other contributions. We can make, you know, mid-year decisions too.
Either way.
I mean, that's where you'll see commitments. It's if they sign ILAs, the other jurisdictions. That's what it'll trigger.
Well, one thought just to brainstorm is that if we put in kind of a partial of that full and then say to the other jurisdictions, kind of, we're stepping up. If you don't help us, this person will have to be laid off, or this person will be laid off. It might help with the argument to get some additional support from the other jurisdictions, but
We do, and here's the thing, I mean, I know every other jurisdiction. Again, because they're not impacted at the level of Spokane Valley is, the level we're impacted, they're more than willing. But it's not an insignificant amount of money that's gonna hit the Spokane Valley and.
Yeah.
Just like all of us, I mean, they're getting hit with increases every which way. So, that's just my long way around the barn to tell you, I don't know where they're gonna go with this one. I really, I mean, I think they do value the service we provide, and they know that if they don't participate, that there's some onus on them to their own. But just nobody this late in the game likes to be told, oh, by the way, we know you budgeted this and we're gonna tack on $100,000. Like telling you guys that either. What happens when we lose regional partnerships? So again, I'll just wait for you all to tell me. We'll get you the information as we get it. And then you all tell me what I have to do to make the numbers meet. I understand the position you're in. And if I figured I could find $200,000 in the sheriff's budget somewhere, more than willing to look at that too, but today I can't say I got that.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Intention, intention next.
Yep.
Sheriff.
We're gonna move down so right.
And.
Switch sides from last time. Good morning. Good afternoon.
11:40. So
Oh, it's still morning.
You want to set the stage for this one, Scott?
Sure. Okay, so last week, Lord, you'll recall when we were working through the option 2. We raised the question, is there a revenue impact to doing option 2? And so we huddled with Don and Bryce during the lunch hour and tried to hurriedly put together some estimates. And from that, our initial estimate was, hey, it could be a loss of revenue of about $940,000, which was concerning as we looked at where the matrix was. We went back and regrouped with the team. They had a chance to go back through their budget, review the methodology, and we're able to identify that in fact will not have a revenue negative impact. So good news in this, so it doesn't necessarily negatively impact that portion of the budget matrix, but we wanted to have, there's a lot of interesting calculations on how our fees out to the other jurisdictions are calculated. And so Bryce has put together a presentation here and Dawn to kind of walk the commissioners through that and demystify the calc a bit and then show how we kind of came up and address that revenue potential offset or negative, which is not going to be. So.
Okay, quickly, like Scott said in the agenda, we'll go over billing methodology, some clarification such as closing a building and some programs clarification, as well as our 3 options now. The third option includes option 2, but adds education in the HM back. So next slide is Bryce.
Okay, what you're seeing here is our advisory cost allocation, how we deal with our total expenditures. This is a 2024 final. The left box is our costs allocated to the advisory agencies. So in 2024, we had total expenditures of 59.86 million. We had non-advisory agency revenue as a reduction of 7.42, which left us 52.44 net expenditures. We add fund balance contribution, which is per contract, and gets us a total amount to be allocated out of 53.24 million. So once we have that number, we then take it to the right box and we use the actual ADP percentages for each of the contracted agencies, our advisory agencies. So in 2024, the county was at 82%, city at 14, 3, and 1 for the rest of the agencies total. We take that 53.4, multiply it by each of those percentages, and that's the dollar amount that gets allocated out to each agency. A little bit of the confusion was a daily rate. We can come up with an effective daily rate using this divided by the total inmate days, but it truly isn't a daily rate that we charge each agency.
That daily rate changes day by day, depending on the mix of individuals in the jail and whose jurisdiction they're in there for. So. And of course, the allocation, where it says Spokane County, that's not an allocation. Those are just the expenses that we absorb that do not get recovered through other jurisdictions that we bill out under our contracts.
Another, some clarifications, EHM and education. We had some confusion related to these, but here's how it works is there's 2 EHM case managers. They manage electronic home monitoring as well as reentry services, which would be housing, food assistance, treatment coordination. They manage the Pioneer Substance Use Disorder Program, as well as they teach some classes. That being anger management, parenting, or partners in parenting, and opioid awareness. And then our teacher, our education program, she teaches the Breaking Barriers, the 5-week program. She teaches GED as well as financial literacy. Difference with her is those all require certification for her to teach those. And then also next slide, some confusion related to A building closure. So A building does house the main control room for the facility, some offices and some locker rooms. It will not impact programs, education, or EHM. That's all done out of a different building. Reduces Geiger population by 40, brings us from 220 down to 180. Some of the inmates will move to, I'm sorry.
Before you get too far past EHM,
Yes.
so the cost for the 2 case managers for EHM is the amount of revenue that comes in, because if someone's on EHM, they have to pay a fee, correct?
Sure.
In order to be in that program. Does the amount of money collected by the individuals over the span of a year cover the cost of those 2 FTEs?
It does not. We have a slide specifically for that on the finances as well, but it does not.
Okay.
Okay. Back down, I'm sorry, EHM inmates move to B buildings, some, not EHM. Some inmates move to B buildings, some will move back downtown. So we'll reduce our population out there from 220 down to 180. And this morning we had 217 out there. That would send 6 corrections officers back to fill vacant positions, a savings of $588,000 through overtime reductions. Okay, next slide, please. So also during this time, back on October 20th, we made a change to our book and release. I think everybody's heard of ORSCJ or book and release. We suspended book and release back on October 20. We had the available space. We were in the low 500s at the time. And as you can see by the.
Go back one slide.
Did I skip?
There you go. You're good.
Okay, there we go. As you see by the populations, our population's gone up quite a bit. Went up about 88 beds in the last 3 weeks. You can see the breakdown, about 30 are county inmates, 52 will belong to City of Spokane, and then a handful to the other non-advisory agencies. So this is brought on. We've had asked by law enforcement, and we've had a lot of positive feedback on the taking these people and not releasing them. So overall, Ben went up by 88. Actually, today's 852, so we're almost 100 beds up in the last 3 weeks. So, next slide, and this breaks down the ADP breakdown. So between agencies, mid-quarter, 2025, it was 79% to the county, is 21 to the other agencies. It was growing to 80 and 20. And then given just that time period, only a 3-week window, it would be 76 and 24. So 76 would belong to the county, 24% would belong to all the outside agencies. You see City, Spokane, Cedar Valley. We moved our projections based on that, based on our ability to stay on book and release and keep our populations as close to 620 downtown. And so we're projecting 79 to the county as for 21 for the advisory agencies. So reference for last year, for all of 24, we released about 15% of people. 15.5 was end of year for last year. So doesn't look, because we're releasing 15.5%, looks like we should be able to keep our population up closer to that 600 number. And just go off book and release as we get too full.
So I'm gonna ask a question on book and release, if we're, how we're changing that. What effect does that have? And Matt, maybe you can answer the question on our prosecutor's office and our public defender's office. Because if you're booking and releasing.
I would say from the prosecutor's perspective, if somebody's incarcerated and held, it tends to make it more efficient to resolve the case. But from the defense attorney's side, it also raises the stakes on the amount of work that you need to put in and the amount of meetings that you have. So more work on that side.
So, yeah, because they're trying to, at least public defenders, not to get into the caseload standards conversation, but they are only focused on those who are in custody. That's their.
They're gonna
top-
prioritize.
They're gonna prioritize custody. Okay. But that adds to their workload, the more people that are in custody, potentially, depending on the caseload standards. But depending on.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, it's going up.
Okay.
So I'll throw one in
Just
here.
ask
Okay.
those. So you're assuming then that you won't be able to. So the ADP went up because you're keeping more folks in custody, but then you're projecting not to do that then in the future. You're going back to where we were pre. At the 79%, 21% is what you're predicting, just to be conservative. with the
Correct.
budgeting?
That's exactly what I was gonna clarify is.
Because we don't.
If this 76 holds for that 3-week window, then the county would collect more revenue. We don't want to push too far into how much revenue we would get out of the others. We just don't
Just depends
know,
on
but
space.
it sure looks like we've just bumped it backwards a little bit.
Okay.
Sorry, bumps. Advisory's up and the county backwards.
Okay. And next slide, please.
Back to your comment, Commissioner, by having the book and release suspended for a period of time, this is just observation, but while when people get booked and released, they have a charge. They oftentimes have maybe a failures to appear, other things that happen that have impacts down the system, whether it's prosecutor, public defender, our courts and everything. And as Matt mentioned, if there can be resolution more timely by having someone, spend a night in jail, there could be some pleading that time served, right? So then it has the potential to take a lot of the log jams out of the system and additional work and delays downstream. That's a potential there, I think, that could be beneficial from our ability to have this suspended for some periods of time.
There is a positive impact to detention services. Booking and release. The booking area is very labor intensive. The booking area has 8 people assigned to booking area, 24 hours a day. But once somebody's been here for a while and potentially their medical issues are stabilized and they moved upstairs, you can move one officer watches 46 offenders. So the process of booking somebody in and out, when we break down the cost involved and just was the workload involved, and then they're here and they're healthy, rather than in and out and maybe potentially you have to detox each and every time they come back in. So I think the book and release process is something we've had to do over the years, but it has a real impact to the booking area. And we've had the conversations related to red light and just the same person brought in numerous times in the course of a week or a month or a year versus somebody here and hopefully get their case adjudicated. If that happens, I don't. You can take it.
Yeah, so I think, part of what I think we need to really get an understanding as to, now that we're doing this, what are the other effects, positive and negative, on the rest of the system? I mean, otherwise it's hard for us to be making decisions when we're just seeing one piece of the system and we're not seeing the whole system. To know. And so, yes, it'd be great to know, is it better? Are those people not coming back again? So we really need to be figuring out how we're tracking the data to show and support. This is helpful.
Sure. Yeah, and sheriff and the prosecutor are aware of it. We've heard positive comment from both of them. And then we have talked to district court and municipal court because they've noticed the uptick. But we shared the information with them that they were doing that. We're moving them close to 620. And then our transport teams have been able to handle it. So interesting.
So I'd just be curious, since we've started it, are we seeing red lights go down? There's a whole lot of things.
Actually, as a side note, red lights have gone down. I don't say it can be directly attributed to that. Side note, I put it on a page. We had I can't remember when the media reached out to us. It was in the 20 or 30 instances. We've had 8 instances for 12 hours in the last 30 days. So it is much down. We made a big focus on that, getting the police officer back on the road. So yeah, 8 instances, 12 hours for the last 30 days. And that's 3 of those weeks have been during this red light or this change to book and release. Next, I haven't gone off option 1. I'm sorry, I was going slide. So remember option 1, so $64 million, $64.82 million target budget. Second column is our budget for option 1, which would be 70.21, which require an extra $4.98 million from the county for option 1, status quo. Second slide is, I'm sorry.
On this one, so the purpose of this is to help the commissioners track how the version has changed. The 5.39 is what you had seen before. That was the last time the team talked about it, what option, what would cost. They also revised the revenue side of this to reflect that 79-21 mix on projection. So there would be a positive, there'd be revenue additional coming in if that 79-21 holds. So now the new updated net impact of an option 1 is the 4.98 million. Correct.
And option two, which is closing Guy Gray building and eliminating those vacant positions as well as eliminating programs. Again, target budget is 64.82. Option two, total budget 68.21. And the impact using those updated ADP percentages would be 3.39 for option two.
So that,
Go ahead. No, you go, Bryce.
so that basically represented kind of the break even on the one that we had before, that 937 was the break even, which we didn't want to pull beyond that 79%, even though that 3-week window was showing stats that were actually more beneficial to the county. So we left it down to kind of the break even point on that.
And this shows where that 937 would have been a reduction in revenue. Had we used the previous methodology with their updated methodology, there is no negative impact to our revenues on this option.
And if it does hold higher, there would be additional revenue collected.
So our split between option one and option two, the differential is about $1.6 million. I know Commissioner CUNY had raised some questions around that last week. It's like, is there really any difference here? This does show there is still a difference of option one versus option two.
No, it does.
Yes,
Last week.
it didn't last week.
Okay, next slide, just a little more explanation in the costing of education. As a reminder, education program net loss of $174,000. We allocate out through $37,000 to our advisory agencies. County responsibility is $137,000.
Quick question. So the buyback then on this one is now 7.
So it will show up. It'll show up in a couple slides.
Okay, you'll summarize.
Yep.
Right.
Keep that 37 in mind.
I'll hold my questions.
Electronic home monitoring, again, EHM program budget net loss of $196,000. 42 of that is allocated out to the advisory agencies using our new ADPs, and 154 remains as county responsibility, even with the changes of ADP percentages.
That's to your question, Commissioner Carnes.
So
Still $154,000 cost.
it doesn't cover, it's not a cost recovery model.
The 50 recovers the fees for the third party contract to actually do the monitoring, the bracelet fees.
And the 42, I believe, Commissioner Jordan had raised this question last week. 42 is actually the revenues that we receive off this program from our advisory agencies.
But
Oh, go ahead.
and correct me if I'm wrong, if we were to hand this over to a third party to administer fully, that would be financially, we would be in a better position, correct?
I would say financially, yes, there are some things that those EHM case managers do that wouldn't be done by, like, such as Moon EHM.
Okay.
And so far, we don't have any kind of clear estimate as to if the program was not there, whether some of those folks would be in jail, some would be released, some would be some different arrangement. We don't really have a number on that today, correct?
One other thing to keep in mind is the other duties that the people that the 2 case managers for the EHM are doing beyond the EHM program.
Yeah, they're the one, they teach anger management, partners in parenting, and they're take care of all the re-entry out of that as well.
We'd still require 2 case managers if EHM wasn't in the picture, or?
Yes, these are the EHM case managers. These are the 2.
If there were no EHM, would it still require 2 case managers to do the other one, the class?
I guess it depends on what we want to do moving forward.
Okay.
If we want to teach those classes, if we want to do re-entry for a population.
Okay.
The SUDS program is also included in there.
So it's the same 2 case managers.
Same 2 case managers.
Electronic home monitoring and doing the programming classes.
Some of them, yeah. Not the previous slide, the teacher does the Breaking Barriers GED and financial literacy. The EHM team do the anger management, partners in parenting, opioid awareness, and then they also oversee the Pioneer contract for the SUDS.
So on back. Next slide is option 2, adding EHM and education back. Again, 64 target budget, 68.63, adding those back. Total impact to the county, given our new ADPs, is 3.68.
And then to Commissioner Jordan's point, the 79,000 right down in the bottom right corner is the combination of the amounts collected for EHM and education. So the 37 and the 42.
And the next slide is just a recap of the 3 amounts. Okay, we tried. It's
Just a question, Chair, on the 7921. What was last year's estimate? Sorry. See. Like, what was the 2025?
7921.
2024.
The 2024 number
is the first slide. So 70,
was 82 for the count. 82.
So just out of curiosity, if you tweak it, like if you just, in theory, if you go to 22 on the others at 78, what is the bottom line?
Every 1% is 1% of the total dollar amount that is on the allocation sheet. So if we go to, Ron, can you go back 1 slide?
About 600.
So right there, in this option, we would be allocating 62.34 million. So if the number tweaked by 1%, we would be looking at $623,000 more to the county.
So
Or sorry, to the cities.
we would be
Collect.
allocating it
Yes,
out.
correct. We would collect 623.
So if the book and release continues even part of the year at a similar rate to what it is now, there's a reasonable chance we could see even more favorable revenue.
I would say so. There's no reason that, as we've seen in booking for 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks now, to believe. I believe today's actually it's 4 weeks today. We built our PowerPoint last week. We're booking and releasing 15% already prior to that. So I would think the numbers would be pretty consistent with what we've had, and most of them are coming from the cities. Most of them are city misdemeanors. So cities Spokane, most of them.
So your projection is, you feel it's solid but conservative.
Yes, we didn't want to overshoot and say, hey, we're going to collect $1 million extra from the cities. When don't really know if it's going to hold up or to what extent.
But you said that in 2024, it was higher.
The county's portion was higher. It was 82%.
Oh, I see, okay.
So we have taken it from a 18% allocation in the last budget up to a 21% allocation for this one. So we have tipped it up 3%, which, you know, again,
Yeah.
just we didn't really want to go any farther than that.
Cause it's probably only like half the year that you're gonna have the space. Right, I mean, in
Yeah.
the summer, don't we have generally higher?
We thought so, but all year long, back in March of this year, the population dropped. We don't have a good explanation for why. But a lot of city misdemeanors out there, so we went off and we had immediate impact in just the first few days.
This was an odd trend year. Normally it's in
Yeah.
that once the weather warms up, our populations go up. When the weather goes down, our populations go down, and that didn't happen this year.
That is all we have. Some more questions, commissioners?
Just gonna figure out how we're gonna do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I, really quick, sorry, the rate, what is the rate for the home monitoring? How much does it cost the county per person versus a bed rate per night?
So
Just to understand the value versus, you know.
Same daily rate.
And we don't know if someone would be held or not, but let's say 50% chance they would probably be held in
The
custody.
jurisdictions, it's the same daily rate for somebody on EHM as it's somebody that's in custody. It's the same daily rate.
So if you look at this, the program bucket itself, it's significantly cheaper than our overall, but since those costs roll back in for the contract to the overall amount that gets allocated out, it just drives down our average, our total average daily rate for those agencies, right? So if we looked at, so we were approximately 200,000. It was our net number, it was 196. If we said we had, how many days did we have last year? 6,000, so it would-
600, I believe.
Yeah, so if it would be, so it'd be about 196 divided by that 6,000. I'm not quick enough in my head to do that, but that would be, if we looked specifically at that program, which our contract doesn't necessarily allow, that would be true daily rate for the program itself. That makes sense.
Thank you.
So with the time, do we want to make some decisions right now?
Let's cover,
No.
let's cover the, you want to do the TIF really quick?
We gotta get that. Jim, you're here.
Good afternoon, board members and Madam Chair. This afternoon is the date for the board to make a decision on the extension of the Liberty Lake TIF. There are really three decisions or four that you'll be making. The first is whether to extend the TIF the additional 9 years from January 1st, 2026 to July 1st, 2034. And that time frame would make it run the same time frame as the lift. And the reason that's important is because we use lift revenue as a match to get up to $1 million from the state under the lift. The second change you're considering this afternoon is whether to increase the total cost of the public improvements to be acquired with lift TIF money from $20 million to $30 million. The third change you'll be considering this afternoon is whether or not to include as a definition of public improvements the terminology permanent affordable housing and any other changes which the legislature may make in the law between now and the end of the TIF. The fourth issue which you'll be discussing this afternoon, and the one which I have been talking with Jeff McMorris about, is how much money the county during the next 9-year time frame for the TIF will be contributing from its tax allocation revenue toward the TIF itself. Through 2025, the board has contributed 75%, which is the maximum amount that the TIF provides for. It's been suggested for the remaining 9 years of the TIF, starting January 1st, 2026, that the board substantially reduce its participation from its tax allocation revenues. I'm advised by Mr. McMorris that the amount of money which you tentatively has as a holding place in your budget is $200,000. The way the documents have been prepared by legal counsel is that if the board decides to extend the TIF, to expand the purposes, and to extend the total cost, the way the document is provided is that initially, the board would contribute as of January 1st, 2026, the amount of $200,000. That amount would remain until the Board of County Commissioners decides to increase it or decrease it in any subsequent year. We do that by signing a document on or before January 1st of every year and sending it to the treasurer's office. This afternoon, Mr. Cogan at the public hearing will advise you of the following. Number one, Liberty Lake has agreed to participate at the annual amount of $500,000 until they subsequently increase it or decrease it. Number two, the Fire Protection District has agreed to participate in the amount of $300,000 until they increase it or decrease it. And number three, the Library District gives its maximum amount, board members, but it's de minimis. It's $5,300 approximately on an annual basis. And they've agreed to give that amount through the entire term of the extension. And so finally, board members, as a placeholder, we are thinking that the board would contribute the $200,000 as of January 1st, 2026 through the end of the 9-year term, with the idea, of course, that you can increase it or decrease it by giving notice to the treasurer on before January 1st of every year. As I've indicated, Mr. Cogan has the signed documents from the Liberty Lake, from the Fire Protection District, and from the Library District, indicating exactly their agreement to extend the TIF and to make their contribution as indicated for the next 9-year time frame. Does the board have any questions that they'd like to ask me?
Jim, you laid out the 500,000, 300,000, 200,000 for the city, the fire district, and the county. What are the current rates?
You ask a good question.
It's a reduction for all three.
41 in the current
Liberty
year.
Lake is going up.
Oh, Liberty Lakes is going, oh, okay, I thought all jurisdictions were going
Liberty
down.
Lake's going up, the fire district's coming down significantly. They
Okay.
were the largest contributor.
Okay,
And then we're going down by more than half,
Okay.
from 440-ish
Yep.
to 200. And the city has pledged to make up the difference.
Okay.
Since they're the beneficiary, and that makes sure we get the full match from the state.
my second question was, on the language, you know, we're adding in the affordable housing. Is there any way we could be just more generic of all state available or all state authorized uses? That way, if something in the future, the state does say, oh, TIF dollars can be spent on X, we don't have to come back and amend it to allow it to be spent on whatever some item in the future may be added to a list of on an RCW.
Mr. Kearns,
Is there a way
the
to do
present
that?
language, which everyone has agreed to, does exactly what you said.
Oh,
It specifically identifies permanent affordable housing because that was an additional request, but it also says any other changes the legislature may make in the
Okay,
definition of
perfect.
public improvements
okay,
between now and the end of the TIF. So we've done exactly what you've
Okay.
asked for.
thank you.
So Mr. Cogan, the special DPA, will be here, and I'm looking to the Chairman CUNY. He'll be glad to update you on where you are on this. This is for decision only. It's not for public testimony, board members. And at the last time, Commissioner CUNY, you made it very clear to those people who didn't participate that it would be for decision only. And we had quite a bit of dialogue from your planning director about the ability for permanent affordable housing in an area that was of substantial concern by some of the people who participated. I'm sorry, someone else had their hand up and I interrupted.
Jim, should know this, but I don't. On the TIF dollars, the county, our cap that the commissioners are setting at 200. We also have conservation futures and roads. Is that still in or has that been eliminated out?
That's been eliminated out.
Okay, just want to double check. Thank
you. Any further questions, Madam Chair or board members? Well, then I'll see you at 2 o'clock on this item, Madam Chair.
Sounds
Thank you,
good.
Frank.
And like I said, so Brooke Hogan will just be presenting kind of this information and then we'll be making a decision.
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And may I make one other comment while I've got you right in front of me? The other issue that I will be in front of the board on this afternoon is the matter of increasing the revenue in the general fund, the road fund and conservation futures. And what I've done, Madam Chair, is I've prepared 3 separate resolutions for each fund. And in each fund, I've put all the options that you've advertised for that fund. And so I'm going to make a copy of each one of those resolutions for each one of the board members to facilitate dialogue and moving forward on this, because after you make a motion on each one, I want to finalize that resolution because we want to get that, of course, to the assessors and treasurer's office. So thank you, Madam Chair, for letting me burp that out. I'll see you this afternoon at 2 board members.
Thank you. Okay, you're at 12:17. You had an executive session because we are going to continue this meeting this afternoon. Mr. French, did you want to do that now?
Either way, doesn't matter. I can do this afternoon if you want. There would be the pleasure of the board.
We have other executive sessions?
This
afternoon.
Oh, this is after. 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
We need to finish our matrix.
I know.
Yes.
I just,
That's on the
I
agenda.
think Commissioner Jordan and I.
You guys have-
Mr. Simmons have a meeting with
oh,
Mr. Rohrbach, Shrek.
so we probably, maybe we should do your item now.
We can.
Oh, then I think we have to do it
Yeah.
now.
I
You
think
guys
we
are
should.
3:30.
Yeah.
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 Okay, yeah,
Let's do
I
it.
can, 10 minutes most.
Okay, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's just do it now. Okay, we are going to go into executive session for 10 minutes. At the end of that 10 minutes, we will end our, well, not end our, but we have
It's Ron.
Oh.
Hello.
Hey, Matt.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to note that we have the press release ready for the second harvest resolution this afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So I will be, after the executive session is over, no decisions are expected. We will take a short break and we will reconvene as soon after our 2 o'clock meeting for this meeting. So
We're breaking executive session for pending and potential litigation. As you mentioned, no action is expected, and who is included in this?
Board members, you, Scott, and Jeff. Thank you. That should be, yeah.
okay, thank you. We will go into executive session and no decisions will be made and we will continue this meeting as soon after our 2 o'clock meeting this afternoon. Thank you.